And good evening, everyone. We got a full house tonight. Y'all came to see me. I'm glad to see that. It's just before Thanksgiving. Everybody want to wish a happy Thanksgiving. But welcome to the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners meeting for November the 21st, 2022. And we will ask Commissioner Lancaster to give us the prayer, and then I will call on, well, let's do this, is going to do the prayer, but I will call on right now Vice Chairwoman Stewart to introduce your Grays Creek High School, who's going to lead us in the pledge, and then they'll come back and give a presentation.
Okay, after Commissioner Lancaster gives the invocation, we will have Malika Jones and Natalie Ware come up to the podium and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this evening. And Lord, we thank you for the many blessings that we have received. Lord, we thank you for this season of Thanksgiving. Lord, we have been blessed. And we ask that you will continue to bless those who need help, Lord, those who are suffering, those who are sick. Bless those in attendance as well this evening as they come and speak on behalf of our beloved county. Guide us as we make decisions this evening, and we ask these things in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Malika and Natalie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I don't. I didn't turn it off. Because you were so busy.
And it is a good evening, and so we're going to ask our Fayetteville Cumberland County Youth Council members to come forward and give us a few remarks, and then we will give them a certificate.
Good evening, my name is Alan Montez. I'm a senior at Massey Hill Classical, and I'm the outreach liaison of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council.
And my name is Hunter Straightup. I'm a junior at Fayetteville Academy and Sergeant at Arms of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. I'm excited to be here today to report the events coming up these holiday year. At this time, Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council is planning for the holiday season at the end of the year. During December, we are excited to continue our successful and award-winning event called Jingle Tree, where we give foster kids gifts for the Christmas season as we pick them off the Jingle Tree.
Last week, FCYC had the opportunity to travel to Kansas City, Missouri for the National League of Cities City Summit. FCYC Chair Ramey Mack presented to the youth delegates at the National League of Cities City Summit and provided the welcome on behalf of the 120 youth delegates on the big stage. Ramey led and gave a great presentation. While we were there, we spoke about issues in our country that we as young adults can impact and change. Some of those being social injustices, mental health, civic engagement, and how to practice civil discourse.
We're working hard at making a change happen in our community. Thank you for your continuous support of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council, and we thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak.
Joining us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We always get another picture. I want a picture of me. I want a picture of the kids.
How many,
Y'all come over
how
here.
many of us was a member of FCCYC?
I will.
I was. Yeah, they only had Y'all had two C's in. Yeah. Yeah.
They will be here for our meeting, and at the end, they'll give us a critique of how these commissioners did in our meeting tonight. So you laugh at that, huh? All right, so at this point, I will call on Vice Chairwoman Tony Stewart. I didn't forget your name.
At this time, we will recognize our retired Cumberland County employees. If I could have Monica Fuller from the Cumberland County Department of Social Services. Hello. Ms. Fuller, this is presented to you in recognition of your outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County from May 13th, 1996 until July 31st, 2022, from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Thank you so much for your service. I'll take a picture. Come back there and get me.
You gotta come around. You know I gotta get a picture since I did when we all get a picture. You know what?
And make sure you get one with her by
Come
yourself.
on, stand up. She did up there.
Did she? Okay. Oh, we're gonna need flash. Thank you for your service. I appreciate it. I have retired. Tell her we need a flash.
And now if I could have Toby Foster, please, also from the Department of Social Services. Okay, well, we will put this on ice then.
We will make sure that that is delivered and for their retirement. Thank you, Madam Manager.
Thank you.
You can stay down there. You need, and you can introduce.
Picture.
We will now have some special recognition by Vice Chairwoman Tony Stewart.
At this time, I want to take an opportunity to recognize one of the best districts in Cumberland County with one of the best high schools in Cumberland County, Grace Creek Bears. Yay. At this time, I would like to call Shayna Matthews, the AIG consultant, Allison McDonald, the school social worker, and Vanessa Wade, also the school social worker, to come up here for a few moments and just give you a little insight on one of the great things going on in Bexar County.
So we'll let our children, which is what I call them, our children of Cumberland County, but this is an incredible opportunity that we are approached by Councilwoman Stewart to let us speak tonight of what's going on in Cumberland County and one of the needs of, as we call it, food insecurity. But we really just wanted to come and talk to you and thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk about the great things going on, in not only in Bear Country and with Grays Creek High School, but across the county in terms of social workers and guidance counselors and AIG consultants. It's amazing how we can all come together and form a unity and a collaboration. This has truly been a blessing to be able to have in our county. And we'll have Ms. Malika and Ms. Natalie come and speak a little bit further with some pictures that we also will have up. But it's been a wonderful collaboration with the Second Harvest Food Bank and the North Carolina Community Action Program to be able to have this, really this dream come true with our food pantry going on at Grays Creek High School. So thank you.
Malika and Natalie?
All right.
We started working on this project last spring, and it involved a lot of hard work from our students. We had to move lots of books from our current book room to a new book room upstairs, and this is the whole project here. We had shelves that were put up by all of our students at Grays Creek High School. Food was brought in by the Second Harvest Food Bank. Our ribbon cutting was back in September, and it was a long project, but well worth it for our students to serve our community in Grays Creek and all of the schools in Cumberland County. So we're very proud of the work they put in.
Okay, hi, I'm Natalie. So, Grays Creek started the food pantry in 2018 through the efforts of a National Honor Society student. The items included non-perishable goods and other household items. The year's Second Harvest Food Bank and Community Action Pathways partnered with Grays Creek to expand the food pantry. There is now a commercial freezer and refrigerator. The food donations are provided by Second Harvest. Since the opening, donations have come also from the community, including the Martin United Methodist Church in Grays Creek, food drives from our student government, and the board member, Dr. Tony Stewart.
Hi, my name's Malika. Okay, Grays Creek High School has 605 students receiving free or reduced lunch out of 1,396 students. Students like myself and Natalie are very proud of this pantry. We see other students struggling with not having enough food at home. We are glad to volunteer and help them in need. We look forward to how this food pantry will help all families at Grays Creek High School and other Cumberland County schools.
Hello. Just to tell you the need that we have of our students at Grays
You pull
Creek.
that
And
up
all,
just a little bit so we can
sorry.
hear you.
A lot of our students you wouldn't think would need food during the day, but we have a lot of students who come without lunch money and want something to eat. We open the food pantry up to them. We have students who on the weekend are food insecure. They don't know where their next meal is coming from. So we open that up to them on Fridays to come and get whatever they need for the weekend. And we have not only the Second Harvest Food Bank, but we also have donations from folks in the community like Ms. Stewart, who has been to the school several times to donate, and we really appreciate that. But there is such a great need, and people do not realize it, but there are a lot of students who struggle with food. So it's just a great opportunity for the kids to have a place to come. Thank you.
one of the misconceptions that people have is that if you live in a certain area, that you're not in need, and that is a myth. You never, I know a lot of working people, the working poor, who need assistance. So don't ever think that because people live in a certain area code or zip code, that they don't have a need. And I think it is phenomenal what you all are doing. I appreciate you serving the community in that way. People would not think that, okay, well, there's a food pantry at a school, but there's a food pantry at the school because there's a need for it. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I have a whole carload full of stuff. I'll be over there tomorrow to drop it off. But I just wanted to recognize Natalie and Malika with this certificate of appreciation for outstanding service as a voice for our youth in the Cumberland County community and for focusing on the betterment and promotion of our community. And this is from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, signed this day on the 21st of November, signed by myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We're gonna start here. We get my picture first, that's right. She knew, see? She knew. That's right there. Y'all come right down.
Kind of center. There you go. There you go. There you go. That's it. Thank you. Okay.
Y'all come around.
Thank you. Fantastic. This is on your sleeve. I know. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Tony Stewart. I'll tell you that as much as people talk about it, our county and our nation are in good hands. These students went above and beyond to be able to do that, and we just want to make sure that we recognize them and the faculty and staff that did that. That's a lot of work, and you didn't have to do it, but you did it because of service and out of love for your fellow man, and there's no better thing than that, than the love for a fellow man. I will tell everybody, Second Harvest Food Bank, which is a member of Action Pathways, is actually has benefited from this board in terms of being one of the sponsors of the nonprofits that we do. So thank you. I know tomorrow's a school day, so you do not have to stay, and I know it's been a long day, so I'll give you an opportunity to be able to do that. But if any commissioner had anything they wanted to say before they leave. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That will then take us to another special recognition. So I would call on Senator Kurt Deviere.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. It's always good to be in front of this esteemed board. You know, one of the great things I get to do that I've been honored to be able to do is recognize people. And I thought today was fitting. I know it's coming up to some of your last meetings of the year. But I also thought it was fitting because today the General Assembly ratified the state's constitution, or the Constitution, and made North Carolina a state right here in Cumberland County. So I thought it was fitting for that as well. You know, one of the things I've been able to do over the last almost 4 years now as a state senator is recognize people that are deserving of that honor. And you just saw some of that, Mr. Chairman. It's great to see how you recognize, especially our youth that are recognized. But you know, it's important that we also recognize those who serve. What we do as elected officials is hard work. And sometimes it goes unnoticed and without a lot of thought for the individuals doing it. So I wanted to take a moment to come tonight and present a couple things to a couple members that will be leaving your board while I'm still able to do it before the end of the year. But I have 2 North Carolina flags that I want to present to 2 members today, and I'll talk to you about each one of those very briefly. And Mr. Chairman, I'll be short if you'll just give me a little bit of latitude. These North Carolina flags were flown over the General Assembly, and the reason why I do that is, instead of the Capitol, is you're an extension of the legislature. And these flags were flown over the General Assemblies where the laws of this state are made. So I felt that has been my kind of thing that we, as the delegation, do for deserving members across our community. So the first one I have is for Commissioner Larry Lancaster. Larry, as you exit service, as your time, and this time I should say, as a county commissioner, your time going back to when you served on the school board to the work you've done and your leadership on this board have been incredible. It's been a pleasure to serve with you and work with you. I know you've been a champion for education, even as you moved from the Board of Education over to this board. And trust me, I heard it a lot when I served as serving in the Senate, and heard that education banner a lot. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your time as a county commissioner. Thank you for your friendship. And I want to present this flag to you.
Larry, go ahead on down. He's coming in.
Also, along with a certificate that just says, that just shows that it was flown over the North Carolina General Assembly on behalf of myself and the entire Cumberland County delegation. So just want to present this to you. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Wait a minute, turn around right there.
Oh.
Get a picture.
You want to get a picture?
Have a picture. She's over there. No, hold your flag.
There you go. And the second flag is for a dear friend, Commissioner Charles Evans. Your time on this commission, and I said it in a couple comments to a couple other people, but the one thing that I admire about you, Charles, is that you always put people in every decision that you make. And that's something that's near and dear to my heart. It's how I strive to serve. It's how I watched you serve before I ever served. And serving the people is what's important. So you having a flag that represents the people of this state, that you can take with you. Know that you served this county well since 2010 as a county commissioner, and the impact you've made to the people that a lot of people in this room aren't even aware of the little things that you've done. I am, because I've been able to see them firsthand with you. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your commitment to the people of this community. But more importantly, thank you for your friendship to me. And I just wanted to make sure we presented this small token to you to say thank you for the citizens of this community.
Turn around, they want one for the newspaper too.
We need
Oh, let's see.
both of them for that.
You got it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you again for the opportunity, and to the entire board, thank you for what you do every day for the citizens of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Devier. And I don't know if you want to have any remarks or anything, either Commissioner Lancaster or Commissioner Evans.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the staff and those who work for this great county. For those, and as
Pull your
the Senator
microphone.
said,
Thank you.
for those students and for those people, I guess I'm an educator at heart. And I was very, very blessed not only to be a teacher and a student and a principal and a this and a that and all this other stuff that goes with education. A young man came by and shook my hand a while ago from Massey Hill Classical. I was a part of the Board of Education, son, when we made Massey Hill a classical high school. Matter of fact, I was a principal right before that. For those people who have made a positive impact in my life, and there have been many, as for my county commissioners, thank you for your patience with me. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for guiding me. And thank you for letting me be a friend. Last but not least, my wife, Debbie Lancaster, who has meant so much to me as well as my family members. And for those of you that are here this evening and those that are listening to my voice, may I leave you with these words. It takes each of us to make a difference for all of us. God bless each of you and enjoy your Thanksgiving.
First of all, I want to thank God for the opportunity to have been able to serve the citizens of Cumberland County. It is truly a great honor and a privilege. To my friend Senator Kirk DeVere, who started out the presentation with me about serving people. That's what I was elected to do, to work for each and every person that's here in this county. And I have always done my best to do that. I've worked very hard to try to work with each member on this Cumberland County Board. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But all of us are here for the same purpose. Whenever you cast your vote, you cast that vote for us to work for you, regardless of whoever you may be. And so it's such an honor and a privilege to do that. To the staff, to our county manager, to our county attorney, Rick Moorfield, and Amy Cannon, God bless you. You were able to keep me in line and make sure that I get the things done that I needed to do for the citizens. And you've been tremendous in working with me to get things accomplished. Thank you very, very much. And this is bittersweet. It really is. I'm going to miss serving you as a county commissioner, but I still will be working in the community. And thank each and every one of you that believed in me enough to go to the polls and vote. Find that name, Charles Evans, and vote for him. I am so grateful. I am. And I pray that anytime you need a response from any elected official, that you get the response and the results that you're looking for. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Senator. That was heartfelt, and I know that they will appreciate that for years to come. That will take us to our public comment period. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you know, the public comment period is an opportunity for the citizens to share their thoughts and concerns with the board. The public comment period is designed to last no longer than 15 minutes. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make their remarks until the 15-minute time limit is obtained. No time may be yielded to a speaker by another speaker. We ask that speakers come to the lectern and provide their name and address. Public comment period is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. Any action on items brought up during the comment period will be at the discretion of the board. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers? Pull your microphone down now.
We have 7 speakers.
All right, we've got 7 speakers, so at the discretion of the chair, I'm going to give 3 minutes. That just takes it to 21, so it just gives 1 minute instead of cutting them down to 2 minutes. So each one's still going to get 3 minutes. So if you call our first speaker, Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker is Samuel Allen.
Hello, thank you. Good evening, commissioners and county staff. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. When I moved to Cumberland County from Colorado a few months ago, I was struck by how green it is here. I was glad to see that my neighborhood is home to songbirds, especially the mockingbirds that seem to fill all the trees in the morning. But a walk around the neighborhood will also show a darker side, as an invasive predator has multiplied out of control. The same predator that kills billions of birds every year in the United States. Cumberland County is overrun with feral cats, which kill native species and carry diseases such as toxoplasmosis that cause birth defects in humans. I wanted to be a good citizen and member of my community, so I looked into what I could do to help. I called Cumberland County Animal Services to try to participate in its Trap, Neuter, Return, or TNR program. According to the 2019 report, Feral Cats in Cumberland County, cited on the Animal Services site, TNR is meant to empower residents to trap feral cats, bring them in for sterilization, and release them back to where they came from. But after numerous attempts to reach Animal Services, with responses delayed by a week or non-existent, I received a call asking about scheduling an appointment for over a month out. I was perplexed. I was told to somehow ensure I catch a cat within a specific 24-hour period, a month away, drive it myself to a clinic and back, with the next available appointment another month from then. When I voiced these concerns, I was told that this program isn't for you and is actually generally for people who already either own cats or feed feral ones in their backyards, and so don't even need to bother trapping them. They just scoop them out of their own backyards. Nevertheless, I asked to be given the clinic date and haven't heard back since. As TNR is run, it isn't community empowerment. The inconsistent and insufficient scheduling and being told this isn't for me when multiple ferals leave carcasses of local wildlife in my neighborhood and yard every day is a farce. And this isn't a program to reduce the number of ferals, apparently. I was told this program caters to a select few who bring in their own cats or who already increase the feral population through feeding, which I'm astounded is legal in this county. This casts doubt on the purported number of ferals successfully going through the TNR program. Moreover, according to the CDC, cats are the domestic animal with the most reported rabies, and outdoor feeding brings them in close contact with reservoirs of the disease. We need a TNR program that actually neuters and returns ferals when residents have done their part. Whether this is done through vouchers or actual staff, rather than the sometime next month status quo, this issue should be a priority under the prerogatives of Animal Services, namely preventing animal cruelty and neglect, and feeding ferals should be prohibited, as it was until recently. Animal Services is right. A broken, ineffective system isn't for me, and I ask the county board to do everything in their power to make this program effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Jose Cardona.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jose I. Cardona. I live at 233 Addison Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I hate to rain in your parade today. I got some issues. I want to tell you about them. Let me take you to the past, to the present, and to the future. On December 22, 1999, there was an opinion written by the unknown writer from the Fayetteville Observer, cited coming attraction. It stated that finally the county, city, and PWC came together to agree on something good, and while doing so would bring in millions of dollars to the city and county. All the county had to do was supply $200,000 every year plus advertising expenses and maintenance. The vote was unanimous since the city had given blindly $5 million for construction for another $4.5 million for the line of credit. The present. Today in this city, we have decided to go home our homeless, 475 people to be accurate. Last count and on mental problems are on the rise, out of control. The solution taken by the city is to issue citations and hide those afflicted so the image of the city is not tainted. So imagine what $9.5 million could have done for those needy people and homeless who had gotten them, and not to mention another $60,000 additionally given the month by the city, okay, that added to $4 million. Back to the future now. The future in front of us, looking forward, the city of Fayetteville has committed $6.6 million for another museum. You have already committed $8.5 million, so the Civil War Construction Museum, which overrides all needs of the citizens, mental health and homelessness, to mention a few, promise our unproven statistics will make you fail another burden to the taxpayers. Another cash cow, like the ASOM, is what we don't need or want. Please consider sending or stopping the issue of this money and use instead to better the life of the people that you represent and I represent. A couple of articles I put in the bank, please read them, enjoy them, and that was your past. For those of you still here 20-something years ago, so have I. I hope to be the next 20 years be here, so I could see what the future did bring and how much millions this new museum is going to bring us. And I thank you for having me.
Thank you. Our next speaker.
Ms. Irene Grimes.
Good evening, Irene Grimes, 3918.
Pull that microphone down. There you go. Thank you.
Even lower? 3918 Colorado Drive in Hope Mills. Most of the time when somebody comes up here to speak, it's because they have a concern or a problem. But my purpose here tonight is different. I serve on the Board of Elections, and while I know that all county employees work hard, I think there's no more dedicated group that you have working for you than the folks over at the Board of Elections, the staff at the Board of Elections. It seems that here lately we've had elections just about every other month, and they had to go from administering one election, barely finishing that one, and then starting on the next one. So they're under a lot of pressure on a constant basis. Additionally, there are lawsuits, FOIA requests, law changes, all of it happening all at the same time. And yet our elections have been free and fair and largely without issues. The staff over there have dealt with a difficult board, a persistent press, questioning observers, and a scrutinizing and often suspicious electorate and citizenry. And by the way, they're 25% short-staffed. I have seen firsthand the great tact and individual attention they have given to every voter that needs it. I have seen the long hours and holidays that they have spent at the office and away from their families. And I have seen the families' celebrations that they have missed, some of them over several years, because there's folks over there that have been working at the Board of Elections for decades in some cases. And they do it all without fanfare,
So today, I want to come up here and say a very, very public thank you to all of them. All 6 of them that serve the 220,000 registered voters.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. And we do have the next speaker.
Anna Ashley.
All right.
Mandy Faulkner. Matthew Jones.
I'm a little bit taller. Good evening.
Good evening.
Matthew Jones, 887 Flintwood Road, 28314. It was amazing when we started, how we had prayer. We brought Jesus right here front and center, hopefully to work on our hearts, hopefully for us to make the best decisions that we think we can make for our community moving forward. And I'm really glad to hear that from a few folks that I didn't know that I would hear that from tonight. Because I did a little bit of research, and I do know that, our commissioners are biblical, commissioners. We study the same book. So I am raising currently the 7th generation Cumberland County citizens, okay? So we've been here for years and years and years. That doesn't mean I'm taking anything away from our Colorado friend over here. Nothing against him. But I want to put this on your hearts because homelessness, okay, it's not a disease, okay? Can't put a Band-Aid on it. You have to get out there and we have to do something about it. 2 people that I know have froze to death in the last 3 days, just here in Fayetteville. 1,600 identified homeless, 140 beds. That's with the white flag. Believe me when I say this, there's plenty of food. There's plenty of food, but there's no shelter, there's no rehab, there's nothing. City of Fayetteville wants them off of their property. Now, coming up, you guys have a vote on county property. What are we supposed to do with them? So, since we all read the same book, Matthew 8:20, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Proverbs 28:27, whoever gives to the poor will not want, but he who hides will get many curses. Proverbs 14:31, whoever oppresses a poor man insults his maker, but he who is generous to the needy honors him. John 15:12, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I loved you. Philippians 2:4, let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. We are having a pandemic of homelessness in Cumberland County, in Fayetteville. I get out there, I walk with them, figure out what their needs are. Number 1 need, shelter. As we're speaking tonight, as we're having our Thanksgiving, there will be folks that are going to freeze to death. Freeze to death. That's an issue. Proverbs 21:13, whoever shuts their ears to the cry of the poor will also cry out and not be answered. So when we're looking at suggestions on spending money, shelter would be a good place. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all our speakers, madam?
We have one more
One more
speaker.
speaker.
Patricia Slappy.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman and all council members, thank you for letting us come tonight and voice our opinion. On behalf of the Bel Air Community Watch and the citizens of Cumberland County, we want to thank you for allowing you to let us voice our concerns. The matter is about the nuisance of the inns on 301 South. Every business on 301 South has been repeatedly vandalized. Todd's Furniture has had $10,000 worth of furniture stolen. Wade Harden's Plumbing has had catalytic converters stolen. The truck's broken into. And when the employees come to work the next morning, they found people sleeping in their trucks or beside their vehicle that they had broken into with no way or they were so stoned out of their mind they couldn't get back across the fence. They are so concerned at Wade Harden that the employees keep their doors locked. The body of Christ has been vandalized numerous times, things stolen from the church, and the people are consistently behind and in front of the church using drugs and using needles and around in the parking lot. Pastor Williams has presented a petition from our citizens with that concern and request closure of the inns on and the motels on 301, and we did get 282 signatures. Enterprise Rental has had the same problem with catalytic converters being stolen. Colonial Tires have people using their bathrooms wanting to use their phones, and the owners finding used needles on the ground, and the catalytic converters stolen from their vehicles. Briggs Tires has the same problem with people using needles and people going up and down the street using dirty needles all behind them. Every business on 301 has been vandalized. We have gunfire all night long as if we were in Fort Bragg sometimes. We have sex offenders living next door to the children that were placed in the motel. Those children have already been uprooted from their family home and put in this drug-infested motel that is surrounded by drugs, pimps, sex offenders, prostitution, and gunfire in the parking lot. Sometimes the kids try not to get shot, and we wonder why we have a 15-year-old killing 4 people without hesitation. We are harming our future leaders of America. One of the sex offenders living there is even selling drugs. These children did not ask to be in this environment. We have 1,471 young prisoners from the age of 18 to 21, and we have 7,371 from the ages of 22 to 25. This is all the life that these children will ever know living at these motels with prostitution, drug activities, overdose, murders, human trafficking.
Go ahead, I'll let you finish. Go ahead, your last.
Human trafficking, gunfire, and people getting killed at their door. We have deputies and firefighters and EMTs who are risking their lives when they are approached sometimes at these motels to assess a situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other speakers?
No more speakers.
And that will take us to, Madam Manager, approval of the agenda.
There are
there
no
any
changes.
All right, there's no changes to the agenda. If I can get a motion to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
That will take us to the approval of the consent agenda. I would ask that item A be pulled from the consent agenda. Is there anything else to be pulled from the consent agenda? If not, I will entertain.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. Yes, Mr. Keith.
I'd like to pull items C, D, F, G, and N6.
Oh, 6, that was the bottom. Okay. Okay. With those being pulled, which is A, C, no, A, C, D, F, G, and N, number 6. If I can get a motion to approve.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve with those changes.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All of those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right.
Yeah,
We'll
you.
go to Mr. Keith. We'll go to 3C for you.
Thank you, and Madam Manager, I don't know who's in charge of this, but I can lump C and D together. This is a contract for mosquito mitigation. And I know that it's an on-call type of contract. What is the length of that contract? How long is that good for?
I'll ask our Finance Director, Vicki Evans, to come forward. As you may recall, during Hurricane Florence, we did not have any type of spraying contract on standby, and so we're continuing, and we recently did a new RFP. Vicki?
And the reason I'm asking this question is, you're right, and the mosquitoes were horrible.
Yes,
But
sir.
that was October, and then it got cold, and then we didn't. I just want to make, if this is an annual contract, I understand that, but I don't, there was nothing to indicate the length of time on this.
3 years.
It's 3 years, so
And
at
it's a
any time,
standby contract.
standby contract
In
that we
case-
call them, we've got them
In
locked
case
up.
we need their services, then we would have to do a budget ordinance amendment
Right.
to allocate funds to it.
Okay, doesn't cost us anything till we use them, right?
Correct.
Yeah, great, thank you.
That would take us, that was C and D?
Yes,
Okay.
and if you'd like, we can make them now, or I can do them all.
This, I'm just gonna go ahead, down to, F.
Okay. Well, F and G can kind of be talked about together, too. This has to do with the transfer of $2.7 million from, and a decrease from the Shaw Mill project to the affordable housing down at Robbins Meadows. Are you going to be my point of contact, Ms. Evans, on this? Are you
I
gonna be-
believe so.
Okay. Well, this, first of all, as we talk about this, to me, this,
Let me do this, Mr. Keith. Let me bring up Dee Taylor, too,
Sure.
because she's with that. And Tracy, if you want to add in, too, I guess, just in case there's some questions that we'll all be at the microphone.
okay. Well, hey, Tracy, it wouldn't be the same if I didn't get your last meeting here. Well, as I was reading through this, and Mr. Chair, I apologize, I was not at the ARP meeting, but there's a lot of I mean, this whole action has a lot of red flags. To me, it has a lot of more than the Russian army on a May Day parade. But we're going to transfer $2.7 million out of our project for Shaw Heights that we were attempting to get water and sewer in that way, and we're putting this into affordable housing. I guess for 40 years, I've been trying to work on Shaw Heights, and I don't feel like we should be giving up on Shaw Heights, and not having the funding is a bit of giving up. One of the other red flags is nobody bid on this project 3 times over, correct? Right? Nobody bid on it. There's a reason that nobody bid on it, but the cost of this is escalated. We're talking $2.7 million for somewhere around 12 units. That comes out to about $225,000 per affordable house unit. Now, by the information I received, that comes out to about $285 per square foot for the size of these, when the average cost of building in Cumberland County is about $130. So it's double the price for affordable housing. The median, which is going to be higher than the median income, the median price of a house in our entire county. These units will be higher. I am not against affordable housing, but at $245 a square foot, you could double the amount of affordable housing that we could put in our area. Everybody talks, we had a gentleman who talked about the homeless and shelter, and putting this much money into affordable housing where we could spread it out to have more affordable housing for the same amount of money. Again, I'm not disputing the need for affordable housing, but I am disputing the need that we have to spend this much money for these few affordable housing. So I've talked a lot. If anybody can give me some insight, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I'd love to know that I'm wrong.
No, sir. I mean, we all are concerned about the prices, but based on the consumer price index for building and materials for construction, although there's a very slight decrease, it is still way above the norm prior to what we had before the pandemic crisis. Unfortunately, all our projects are struggling as far as the prices. And the price that were brought before you, the $285 per square footage, that was based on an estimate that came from our engineering department based on his consultation with an outside consultant. So this is unfortunately what we are having to deal with as far as the cost of materials as it relates to construction, unfortunately.
I just find it hard to believe that we have to build affordable housing that is higher than the average cost of a house in our community at double the per square foot. I understand the struggles, and they're out there, but I would just like to see if, are these like, these are going to be like, Robbins Meadows are like condos and apartments, right?
These are going to be townhome style.
Right, but shared walls and
Yes, sir.
such?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Which I would think is even less expensive per square foot than, say, a single-family resident. But, I mean, I'm surprised you don't have builders knocking at your door, but if nobody has bid on it 3 times, to me, it's another red flag. But I just wanted to bring it out. I was hoping I was wrong, but I think I'm right. Is it pretty much where we are?
That's what we're seeing today, sir.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chair, that has to do.
I think Commissioner Booth had
Okay.
a comment.
Yeah, I don't think we can look in the mirror and call this affordable housing. I mean, if you go through I think if you get any of the MLS books, you can go buy about any house you want on Sky Drive for $200 a square foot. That's, freestanding, brick walls, half-acre lots, and this is, as he said, apartments or townhomes with one wall being the common wall for at least 2, depending on how many front and back it. It's anything but affordable housing, and the amount to get a couple dozen homes, heading upwards of almost $500,000 a house, and like you said, that's now, and we've never had one. At least not in the 6 years I've been here. Well, like I said, remember when you all approved that $285 a square foot? We're now getting it for $144. That just has never happened. So I've never had anything but after something's been approved at $285 to come back in here $304, $319, $407. So this is just, I think, the start of unaffordable housing, and so it's just the cost for the satisfaction of the few. The suffering of the many for the betterment of the few the scales are not balancing out for them.
And Commissioner Booth, not to take you, the affordable housing is not on the building part, it's what we charge the folk to live in the house.
Right. It's still going to be affordable to the targeted population.
Oh, I know it is.
I think you missed the point.
I know it is. They're getting it for free or sliding scale. That's what I'm saying. You can't go get a $285 square foot home anywhere else and, pay according to what you can. And that's what I'm saying. That's not the real world either. So that's what I'm saying is we're getting to where the people that are having the houses in our norm of $200,000, $175,000, $200,000 cost of a home are really going to start looking in the mirror and go, what am I doing wrong going to 1 or 2 jobs every day to get half of what I'm hearing the county is making affordable for others. So it just doesn't,
Commissioner Keefe, that takes us to 3-6.
I just want to follow it up. And, sometimes when we have to struggle, it gives us new opportunities to find options. And my goal on this is not to have the most expensive affordable housing, is to provide the best affordable housing to as many people as we can. And, something as simple as, mobile homes. I know they don't cost $225,000, and they could be set up and done quickly. And they could be transitional or permanent or anything else. And some of them are extremely functional and nice. But, are we looking for any other opportunity? Because, hoping that the price goes down is not really a good strategy in today's world. I think we're going to have to be looking for alternative means to provide housing and shelter than just the traditional way. Is there any other options that were looked at aside from this when we got no bids?
Well, we have worked on building our list of potential contract. We have been in conversation with potential contractors, so we anticipate responses. But as far as, because of the design and certain requirements, building requirements that we have to meet, The purpose of this project is for sustainability, has to be green build, have to include things like broadband. So there are certain features that are included in this design too that I think at this point, because of the state's deadline, we can't change anything at this point. Otherwise, they'll deobligate the funds. So looking in the future, we can, for any other potential funding, we can look at some other different designs, but this is...
Who is this sent to? Was it just on our website? Because that's impossible to navigate. So, or was it actually mailed out physically to builders? Fayetteville Home Builders Association?
In the last bid, it was posted on our vendor site, and I believe it's also posted on the state when it goes to. And this time, the Wooten Company also coordinated with the Home Builders Association, posted, actually advertised it in the Fayetteville Observer, as well as Raleigh area.
There's six
So-
people, but I mean.
So this time, that's why we have been in conversation with other potential contractors to see where they are on their projects, and just ensure that we also send the information directly to them.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm just saying, that instead of, if there's a builder sitting there waiting to build and prices are now starting to go down a little bit, you're right, it's not back to where it was, but you can buy sheets of plywood again now and some OSB board and stuff that you couldn't without hijacking a, international paper truck. But, there's, there might be beginning Joe Riddles out there at the Home Builders Association would love to start becoming the county's builder for affordable housing and find that little niche or something. Or, there's some builders that kind of focus on school construction, modification, new construction, all that stuff. And, somebody wanting to, get a lick at somewhere between what they can build a house for anybody else in town and double it for us, they might come in at about halfway between these two and say, I'm going to get each one of these because nobody else is going to get this. So I just think we need to be a little more aggressive and get in the hands of somebody looking for a job.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Commissioner Keefe, that will take us to 3-6.
And actually, it is 3 and 6. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Wait a minute, 3 and, oh, 3?
And 6.
Oh,
And
okay.
I will tell you, I think that the committee without me did a fine job while I was there. But I do have one concern, and I brought it up to the manager before, and I'm going to bring it up again. And I will acknowledge before all this starts that when ARP funds first came around, the chairman and I laughed about it. They said, oh, yeah, you can do whatever you want. And then we found out there were strings. And now those strings have become ropes. And now they're tying us down into crazy stuff that every time we turn around that we're having another issue of why we can or why we cannot do anything. My only issue on the new policy is there is a qualification that the nonprofit that we'd like to support has to be located at that time, their central core business, in a qualified census tract. Even though most of the nonprofits, they service customers who are low to moderate income, who are not in qualified census tracts, but the service that they provide is that way. Ty, you can tell me that that's how it all goes and everything else, but the fact of the matter is this money is supposed to help low to moderate income folks. It's supposed to help folks that are now trying to employ, retain people, and service these areas. But just because it may locate physically in a certain area does not mean that its tentacles do not spread out into our entire community.
Yes, sir. So the first I guess threshold that you're looking at is the low to moderate income portion, and so the funds will still go the funds will be allocated to do a public purpose, which in this case is to, like you said, hire or retain LMI employees. The qualified census tract, or the QCT portion, is the secondary factor used as a not the primary catch-all, but the secondary catch-all, and so it's a either or. It's the LMI or it's the QCT, but we're looking for the LMI portion first. And I think in this case, if you're looking at the employment piece, you have to have employees, and so we're primarily looking for you to have the LMI employees above the QCT.
Okay, Ty, when I read this.
I think Madam Manager
Okay.
had one thing, then I'll come back.
So
Sure.
if you read A, it says, "Be located in a QCT and provide services to residents in the QCT, or employ low to moderate income individuals, being those full-time equivalent positions paying less than $37,350." So you can be in a QCT and provide services, or just not be in a QCT, but employ low to moderate income.
Okay, and to that point,
Yes, sir.
the purpose of a nonprofit is to serve the community. And as Commissioner Stewart said one time, many of these nonprofits have a lot of volunteers. It's not necessarily that they are employing people, but the primary purpose of a nonprofit is to service folks. And according to the project as it sits right now, unless they physically go rent a space, I guess they can go rent a space and have that as a mailing address in a qualified census tract, then they would qualify. But if they have their brick and mortar and it just happens to fall outside of a qualified census tract, they would not be eligible to provide the services unless they started employing people that fit in this thing. So that's my only problem with it. I mean, it's a big thing. That's the only thing. But I think we hamstring nonprofits from being able to service the community by making that mandatory. So, that's it.
So then what's the solution?
Take it out.
And I don't know if that's, if we can do, where's all my people over there with
I need to
ARP?
ask the county attorney.
Okay.
Will it meet the public purpose from the state general statutes?
No, this was the one where we went back and tried to track the small business assistance program, and it has an LMI employment requirement.
But this is the nonprofit side.
I
Because when
understand,
we
but-
went to that,
I understand, but it's still, the assistance to it's the assistance to nonprofits. This is not for them providing services. It's the assistance to nonprofits that suffered, detrimental impacts because of the COVID. The only way to meet the only surefire way to meet the state
Okay.
requirements is the LMI employment.
M-
And I think all the ones we had some LMI employees.
okay, Mr. Chair, if I can make a compromise, we keep the LMI part in there, but take out the qualified census tract, which would meet your
But it's
requirement.
an or, so it could either be either one.
Well-
Isn't it an or? Yes. So it's an or, so
It's
I
an
think the
or.
or does that. If you take it out, it's or, but it will include them if they're in that and don't have the LMI. I'm trying to,
I know,
I'm trying to broad, and
I am doing it for churches.
Yes.
And things like that, that may not have employees,
Right.
but are working as a nonprofit on a food
They gotta-
pantry with volunteers.
They gotta-
They would not qualify under this.
But if they had all volunteers and were in a QCT, they would.
Well, if they're not in the QCT, though, that's, it knocks them out.
I'm suggesting don't take one means of criteria of eligibility out.
Yeah, this criteria broadens because it has the or. If it didn't have the or, if it had and, I'd have a
But they
problem.
still have to employ
Yeah.
people. They can't do it with volunteers.
And I guess what we can do is, as they do that, we want to be, I think, when we look at these, especially the committee, is to be as leniency as possible in terms of being able to do that. So I will do this. If I can take a motion on C and D.
I'll make a motion to approve C and D, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there a second? It's been moved and second. All those in favor? Okay. That would take us to F and G. Commissioner Stewart?
Motion to approve F and G.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved to approve F and G. All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Council, Commissioner Lancaster, Vice Chairwoman Stewart,
Chairman Adams, Commissioner Evans.
Are
Voting in
those
op-
opposed?
Commissioner Booth and Commissioner Keith.
And that passes. That takes us to 3 and 6. If I can get a motion?
3 and 6.
Three
Yeah.
and six.
Yeah, 3 and November, and like in November, item 6. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we take out the qualified census tract recommendation on the policy.
Well, let's do, you want to do 3?
3, what?
Did you do, oh, this is 3-6.
This is 3-6.
Yeah,
3A, yeah.
All right, so there's a motion to take out the census tract. All those in favor?
Who do I have a second? Who seconded?
Oh, who
I'll
seconded?
second.
Okay, thank
I will abstain.
Go ahead.
Voting in favor, Commissioner Lancaster, Vice Chairwoman Stewart, Commissioner Booth, and Commissioner Keith.
All those
And
who
Evans.
oppose? Oh, and Evans. Are those opposed?
Commissioner Council and Chairman Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, it passes with, with that modification. That takes us to 3A. If I can get a motion to approve 3A.
So moved,
So moved.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, moved and seconded by Commissioner Keith. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
And so I would ask that Commissioner Council, Commissioner Evans, and Commissioner Keith come to the podium and present this proclamation. I'm asking those three to come down and present this proclamation. And the reason I'm asking these three commissioners are, they were here and were the original ones that hired our county manager, Miss Amy Cannon, as the manager back then. They were on the board, and so I'll give them an opportunity if you want to say a word, and then I think Commissioner Council is going to read this proclamation. I think that we did not want this buried into a consent agenda, Madam Manager. I know you not necessarily wanted it done this way. If you come forward, I think that it's fitting for what you've given to this county for over those 30 years and the last 10 years as manager. So I leave it to my three commissioners.
Should I turn this around so I won't have my back to the audience? Oh, definitely. You know what? I acknowledge Amy along with Attorney Rick Moorfield earlier, but just talking about Amy, our county manager, who I had the privilege of coming on at the same time that she was selected to be our county manager. And when she was selected, this lady, she outdid herself. When she made the presentation to us about her serving as the county manager for the county of Cumberland, she was well above and beyond any other individuals that we had interviewed. And I had the privilege of greeting her at the elevator after the call was made to turn around and come back, because she had already left the property. And it was killing me to keep from telling her why she was back. And so I just started grinning. I think she picked up what was going on. But this lady is much more than a county manager to the county of Cumberland. She's a friend. She's one that lead by her mind and more so her heart. And I am so honored to have had the opportunity to be with her from the beginning to the end of her reign as county manager. And Amy, God continue to bless you and your family, and thank you. Thank you for serving with great joy, dignity, and respect and honor. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You know, Charles and I have a lot in common.
We confuse you a lot. We do, we
I knew that'd
confuse you
get a
lot.
chuckle. So yeah, I was fortunate enough to be here when our former county manager was leaving, and I've said this before many times. When we knew Amy was qualified, but to her credit, she wanted us to do that search and to go out there and see if there was somebody else about it. And she was very upfront. She said, if I'm selected, that's great. If I'm not, I'll still be a good, steward of Cumberland County. And that says a lot about her integrity. And at the same time, and I hope I don't embarrass you. Well, yeah, a little bit. But let me say something about Amy. There was a lot of brouhaha about Amy being the first female county manager. And that went, but I can tell you she was the best. It didn't have anything to do with her gender. It didn't have anything to do with anything other than her love of Cumberland County, her talent for what she does, and her ability to get things done. And she has continued that. Amy has been in this county through hurricanes, financial disasters, pandemics, and has always held it with grace, professionalism, and calmness that I'm not used to sometimes. And the other thing about it, the one I had a little bit of a step up. Amy's been here. She actually knew my father when he was a commissioner for just a little while, and so she always said I'm nicer than he was. So I always had a step up on him. But Amy, this is our loss, but is your gain, and I hope that you take this opportunity to do all the things that you spent nights doing here and worrying about. And Cumberland County is going to miss you very much. Thank you.
We are here because we are old. And I'm the oldest.
Can you get to that microphone up there?
I am the oldest serving commissioner, longest serving commissioner. Longest serving commissioner.
Yes.
And I had the privilege of guiding this search. And it was amazing. I knew she was good, but I didn't know how good she was until we compared her with folk from all over the country. We got the best. And I am so proud of her and what she's had to, she did have to accomplish it because she was a first. She was a woman. Only if you are a female do you understand what that really means. You got to be a cut above excellence. You got to be better than good.
That's right.
If you are a woman. Also, if you are the first. She was the first woman. She tilled the soil, she plowed the fields, she planted the seeds, and if one seed fell outside of where it was supposed to be, she had 7 people looking at her, telling her, you should have done it this way. Maybe you should have put the seed in the ground. You just heard that great long discussion we had. Maybe you should have put the seed in the ground with your left hand instead of your right hand. Maybe you need to water the seeds. Maybe you didn't have sunshine on the seeds. It's hard when you are the first. I'm sorry, Amy.
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I got my preacher's license.
Yeah.
But this goes. Whereas Amy H. Cannon began her career in Cumberland County on May 15, 1990, when she was hired as a budget analyst in the finance department. And whereas she was promoted to finance director in January 1998 and transitioned into the county manager's office on October 17, 2000, serving first as an assistant county manager and then as deputy county manager in February 2011. And whereas she was appointed county manager on June 10th, 2014, following the retirement of County Manager James E. Martin, and has served in that role for the past 8 years. And whereas after a 32-year career in local government with all of those years, each and every day of those 33 years, dedicated to the county of Cumberland and the citizens. We have in our county dramatically increased access to recreational amenities across the county, developed a plan to invest more than $65 million in American Rescue Plan funds, renovated a facility to become a modern state-of-the-art emergency services center, and laid the groundwork for transformative projects like the Crown Event Center, and a whole lot of other stuff that there was not enough room to put on this piece of paper. And whereas, as the county manager, Amy Cannon faithfully adhered to our mission, our county mission of providing quality services to all citizens while being fiscally responsible, and to the core values of serving Cumberland County's citizens with pride. And whereas under her leadership and strong financial management, we as a county withstood 2 once-in-a-lifetime natural disasters in Hurricanes Matthew and Florence. Notice they have men's names. And
Florence, it could be a woman's name. Florence could be.
I'm sorry.
I've never had a dog named Florence.
And successfully navigated through the COVID-19 pandemic. And she didn't miss a day through the COVID-19 pandemic. Not a day she was here, every day, and weekends. Whereas under Amy Cannon's leadership and strong financial management, oh, I've read that again. Okay, my glasses are jumping time. Whereas in addition to overseeing the operations of county government, she dedicated herself to nurturing and strengthening relationships with the county's municipalities and strategic partners, resulting in collaborative efforts such as the renewal of a county-wide sales tax agreement and the construction of a regional fire and rescue training center with FTCC. And whereas through all her endeavors, she has earned the highest regard of her colleagues and county employees, and has contributed immeasurably, did I pronounce that right? Yes, ma'am. Okay, to the betterment of the quality of life of her fellow citizens. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the members of the County Board of Commissioners, by this recognition, do hereby extend to Amy Cannon our deepest appreciation for meritorious service, loyalty, and dedication to Cumberland County. Now therefore be it further proclaimed that we, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, do hereby declare Wednesday, November 30th, 2022, as Amy H. Cannon Day in Cumberland County, and extend to her our very best wishes for her many years of good health and happiness in her retirement. Presented this 21st day of November, 2022.
Speak today.
Okay.
She don't get to speak today. Thank you.
Oh, we gotta take a picture.
Oh, well, y'all, well, get y'all first. Get you all. Move up there a little bit and get y'all up there with the old folk, right? I mean, the ones that hired them. Go ahead. And we'll come up in a minute. We'll stand up in a minute. All right, get right there. There you go. See, y'all don't even know how to position, so y'all need me to come down there. Yeah, see, look at that.
Wait a minute. Oh, my glasses, okay.
Where's my county photographer? She right there.
Still snapping. Photo on.
Y'all back on up a little bit. Back on up.
Nice try, Jimmy.
If you didn't think that was gonna work.
He's trying to avoid
Wait,
there you go.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Something ain't right with this. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. And you got your flash?
You're in front of me, Charles.
See, y'all talking about, they talking about me. I didn't put you in the picture. Never mind, talk in the picture.
Glenn already had 5 taken by now.
Yeah, you can do it that way. There you go.
Charles?
I'll be your way, all right.
They can't
They
see
said,
you,
come on over a
Charles.
little bit. Come over a little bit. There you go. All right. All right. I'm gonna teach you how to take some pictures.
You all right?
We good now.
You all right?
I got you.
Sorry, everybody.
She need to come around and shake everybody's hand.
Yeah.
She gotta come around and shake hands.
Your biggest award, a Glenn photo. It's always one for.
Move pretty quick. Come on and see. Look.
When y'all having your race or whatever?
Yeah, Weight Watchers. Oh. Gotta watch it. Gotta watch it.
I am very lightheaded. I know that.
Let's get to business.
All right. She finally got a Glenn photo.
It took 32 years.
You're the only one in Cumberland County who wasn't have his picture with him.
That will take us to our items of business, which is, are we on the item of business? That'll take us to our public hearings, which is the rezoning cases, Madam Manager. First case is case zoning 220070.
Yes, sir, and I'd like to recognize Ross Howard, our Planning and Inspections Director.
Good evening, Commissioners. Bear with me just a second while I get this set up. Okay. Case 70. Okay. So you stated, Mr. Chairman, this is case ZON 22-0070. As you can see by the highlight, well, I guess I need to, there we go. All right. So as you can see by the highlighted map where this piece of, or this site is located with the highlighted star in the southwestern part of the county. The applicant and owner is Linda Adkins Butler and Willie Butler. The agent is Mr. Joe Riddle. The request is to go from, or the request as it was applied for was RR rural residential to CP planned commercial. The intent was just to have it as just to be able to market it for commercial uses with no specific intent in mind. It's about 1.57 acres plus or minus. You can see this is Highway 87, as you see highlighted on the map. The highlighted two parcels that you see right here in the red boundary near Sand Hill Road, for those of you that are familiar with the area, this is where 87 and Sand Hill come out. This property is just right there off of that intersection you can see with the crosshatch red area there. So this subject property is currently vacant. There's a sort of a commercial node if you are familiar with the Sand Hills area down here. You can see a lot of commercial development with a convenience store, fire station. There's a mobile home park that backs up to it off in the back, but doesn't really, is not adjacent to it with a church across the street. But for the most part, a lot of the properties that you see around here are wooded or just have some single family homes or some mobile homes on it. This is a little bit, trying to be a little bit clearer. This is just the zoning map. The coloration, I hope, can just outline the different sort of smatterings of zoning that we have out there. The C1P on the corner, CP that's down here off of Sand Hill Road. You can see C2P that backs up to this particular site. But for the most part, all of the areas that are surrounding this, with the exception up in the eastern part, you can see C2P up there as well too, but it's pretty much currently surrounded by the majority of it being A1 or other types of residential zoning. There are no hydric soils on the property, but for the purposes of water and sewer, it does have water and sewer lines that are available immediately adjacent, right on the frontage of the property. So when staff looked at the applicable plan, the plan calls for it to be low-density residential, sorry, which encourages the use of low-impact development techniques, promoting infill, and to provide flexibility for mixed use and higher density type uses. So the request as it was submitted is not compliant with the land use plan because obviously this is not a residential zoning that's being requested for this evening. This is the subject property. You can see sitting on 87, looking pretty much dead on. This is the northeast view looking up 87 with the, you can see the zoning sign here out front. You can see this is the property immediately on the left-hand side. For the southeast view, same thing, it's immediately across the street. You can see the church if you just recall back at the map that I presented earlier that showed the church there. And then this is looking southwest on 87 with the property immediately on the right-hand side. So staff had initially put forth a recommendation of denial for this request. We thought CP was a little bit too intense for that area given the fact that a lot of the zoning districts you can see here are C2P or maybe C1P. We thought it was a little bit too intense, but we did talk with the applicant, and at the hearing throughout the discussion with the planning board, it was agreed by the applicant, and staff didn't have a problem with the alternative recommendation of C2P, which is in your motion sheet tonight, and so that went before the planning board, and they supported that by a 10-0 vote to go to C2P instead of CP. So I'll try to answer any questions that you might have of me.
Anybody have any questions? If not, I will open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
No speakers.
I will close the public hearing, and if I can get a motion for zoning case 220070, which is the recommended denial of the rezoning request from RR Rural Residential to CP Plan Commercial District, and recommended approval of C2P Plan Services and Retail District. And that the board finds this is consistent with the plan. Is that what?
No, sir.
Okay, where are we at? It was to deny and approve the C2P.
Right, but it would be a change to the plan because the plan calls for it to be a residential district, and I have the three sections in your motion down there below that
Right.
would go through the plan change with your vote.
Which is what I was reading. And the board finds the request is not consistent with the South Central Land Use Plan, which calls for low-density residential at this location. However, the board finds that the request is an amendment to the adopted current South Central Land Use Plan, and the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional requests or application for amendment to said plan would promote commercial development similar to what is found in the immediate area and is reasonable and in the public interest because the uses allowed in the C2 plan, service, and retail district would be compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning. If I can get that motion.
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. You seconded, Commissioner Council. All of those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. That will take us to zoning case 2268. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Mr. Howard's going to present this item.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Manager. So as you can see by indicating the star, this request is pretty much geographically centered right in the middle of the county between Fayetteville and Eastover, off of Highway 24. So the applicant owner is Karen Patricia Hare Blackman. The request is to go from CP and RR. This is a split zone piece of property. You can see the CP in the smaller area down in the southwestern corner of the property, but the majority of it is RR. The request is to go from those two districts to a straight RR district. So in effect, any approval of this request would remove the CP out of the bottom portion of that property and just make it all RR. So we are talking about just about 285 acres, just shy of that. So the subject property you can see is pretty much a farm. The areas around it is pretty much a lot of farm, maybe some single family. There's a solar farm that's located, as you can see, in the southern part of the property. As I get into the zoning district, I'll describe a little bit more of what you see around the surrounding areas. So this is a little bit more of a zoomed out. So for folks that are familiar with with Highway 24, this is the I-95 access interchange here. This is Highway 24. There's a small shopping area that you know that's just across the street that's kind of catty-cornered to this site. But you can see it's pretty much a transitioning area is probably an understatement. You have a lot of CP and some commercial that's kind of coming in, starting to grow toward this intersection. We have a number of different types of industrial designations for future industrial growth out here. But for the most part, a lot of the land that you're seeing out here is somewhat transitioning away from the ag and like the residential to some more of the commercial that you can see there. There are hydric soils on the property. There is a water and sewer line. As I said before, there's a commercial shopping center here. The water and sewer lines are pretty much right here at the intersection, so any future development would have to extend that type of utilities into the site. This is part of the Eastover plan. The plan calls for industrial, which of course is to provide areas for clean industries to encourage a location that will utilize agricultural produce from the area and will not involve the processing of animals or byproducts, and supports the efforts to recruit environmentally safe and clean industries. So going to RR, this would be a change. By your vote, it would change the future land use designation to a different type of designation compliant with the zoning district. So as such, the request was deemed not to be compliant with the adopted land use plan. This is the subject property. You can see, as I said before, it was a working farm. This is looking on the east view going down Downing Road, which is the road that fronts on the property, with the property being immediately on the right-hand side. South view, pretty much looking right across the street of Downing Road, again, another farming area. And this is looking west down Downing Road with the site immediately on the right-hand side. Pretty sparse area, a lot of agricultural and farming out there. So, but you can see the sign as required by state statutes for the public notification we placed out there. So when staff first came through this, we had recommended denial of the request. When we took this to the planning board, they supported it by a change of 10-0. It was a unanimous vote. So the indication that we got at the particular time is the applicant was for taxing purposes. Staff was looking at it from the industrial standpoint, that we keep hearing a lot of stuff from the EDC about what remaining industrial land or land that can be developed as industrial. So we stuck pretty strictly with the plan that, you know, if it was going to change, we would rather hit C in it to stay as an industrial designation. I know that the applicant had spoken with the EDC, and during the course of the conversation at the planning board meeting, it was indicated that the applicant wished to remove the commercial designation off the property for taxing purposes. So anyway, so that's where we left us. So at that particular time, the planning board had decided to approve the request by a 10-0 vote. I'll try to answer any questions I have.
That just lose my tax value. Commissioner Booth.
Thank you, sir. Is Downing Road the only road that it has access to down there?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, it has access to this little interchange, which I'm assuming is also the Downing Road area right here. But I believe there's some easements that might go through the property for access for the house, but for the most part, the main access is going to be off Downing Road.
Well, do you know offhand if the same owner owns any of the adjoining tracts, lots, parcels?
Not that we know of.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I will open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I will close the public hearing, and if I can get a motion.
In case zoning 22-0068, I move to approve the rezoning request from CP Plan Commercial District and RR Rural Residential District to RR Rural Residential District, and find the request is not consistent with the Eastover Land Use Plan, which calls for industrial at this location. However, the board finds that the request is an amendment to the adopted current Eastover Land Use Plan, that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional requests or application for amendment to said plan, would promote development that would be more appropriate to the environmental conditions of the site and is reasonable and in the public interest, because the uses allowed in the RR Rural Residential District would be compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning.
If I can get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, that will take us to case zoning 2269. Mr. Rawls.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So our final case for tonight is case ZON-22-0069. You can see, let me go back up to the very beginning. Sorry about that. This case is off Tabor Church Road in the south central part of the county, as indicated by the highlighted star on the map. The applicant owner is Patricia McDonald and Charles Earl McDonald. Again, the request is to go from A1 agricultural to R40A residential. For those of you that may or may not know what R40A is, we don't get a lot of the A districts, but basically the A's is R40, but it allows mobile homes. So that's what the A is just simply it allows manufactured homes in that particular zoning district. The intent of the owner, as it was expressed to staff and what was discussed at the hearing, was to build two or three homes on the site. As you can see, there's a number of RR sort of smaller sites that sort of abut this. The applicant did come in with RR, and I'll go into what the plan says here in a minute, but it's staff's recommendation, and the applicant agreed to change it to an R40A to better comply with the plan, which I'll go over what that is here in just a second. But the request is to go to R40A. The majority of the site is vacant land, as you can see. There are some, there's a house on the front, and there's some a mix of different types of homes, single family and manufacturing, all around the site. So just zooming in a little bit more, this site is on Tabor Church Road. For those of you that are familiar, there's R40A that's a little bit further down here, but for the most part, you got a lot of A1, but immediately touching the site, there's various changes of RR that you can see here, but the applicant is going with R40A.
Ross, right there at the
Yes.
bottom, the RR down at, right there. It looks like that's just one piece, not next to, is it connected to that next piece?
It is connected, I mean, it's a...
To that part?
Yeah, it's owned by a family member apparently that's out here. It's not connected to this site here. I think it's a standalone landlocked piece of property.
How big is it? Okay.
That I probably couldn't answer right now.
Okay.
At least 20,000 square feet, because that's what RR calls for that area. So there is no water and sewer on the property. There are some indication of hydric soils, but there's no utility, so well and septic would be in order for this for any development on the property. So I was just getting to the plan. When we sat down with the applicant, at first it was an RR type of request, but we looked at the plan, and without water and sewer, the plan supports basically acre lots. So of course we went back to the applicant and said, hey, if this goes forward, staff can't get behind going to that small of a lot based off what this plan says. So the applicant agreed to change it to R40 so they could build the homes out there, and we felt that R40A, since it was changed to that, is compliant with the land use plan. So this is the subject property. As I stated before, there was one home on the property, but the vast bulk of the area surrounding this toward the back is pretty much vacant land. South view on Tabor Church Road with the site immediately on the left-hand side. You can see the zoning side per state statutes for the requirements for advertising. This is the west view looking immediately across the street. Again, just wooded property. And then finally, the north view on Tabor Church Road looking north, so, with the site immediately on the right-hand side. So as stated, when it went to R40A, staff had recommended approval. When it went to the planning board, they had also supported it by 10-0. I'll try to answer what I can if you have any questions.
Anybody have any questions? If not, I'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
There are no speakers.
I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion as to case 2269.
I'll make that, Mr. Chairman. In case 0N220069, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agricultural District to R40A Residential District, and find that the request is consistent with the Southeast Cumberland Land Use Plan. The request is reasonable and in the public interest, as the requested district is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning.
If I can get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That will take us to items of business, which is consideration of architect for the Crown Event Center. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. This item is a recommendation that is coming from the Crown Event Center for the selection of an architect from the project. We went through a very detailed request for qualification process. It was a staff committee, the Crown Event Center staff committee, that conducted the interviews of 5 firms that were shortlisted from a total of 11. And so a recommendation was made to the Crown Event Center Committee. We have with us this evening representatives from MVP, our owner's rep, Matthew DeSilver, and Rachel Fleming, to share the detailed information about the recommendation.
Come on up, Miss Rachel. You up there with them too. I don't want, Miss Commissioner Council just talked about women. I ain't gonna leave you sitting back there. I'm not crazy. So this is our short presentation. Yes. Okay.
So, good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Quick agenda. We'd just like to cover the architect selection process and then just go forward talking about next steps if the board is so inclined to accept the recommendation. So the solicitation went out on September 12th, closed on October 11th. We received 11 highly qualified responses. That list was shortened to a select group of 5. That group was evaluated based upon selection criteria, and we had 5 voting members consisting of county staff and 4 non-voting members. And those non-voting members, of course, as you can see, Spectra, OVG, and also MVP. And so they were able to provide operational context for support functions, especially for back of the house, loading, unloading, performer and patron experience, in addition to working closely with the construction manager at risk. We conducted those shortlist interviews on November 8th and 9th. Each firm was evaluated based upon a rubric focused on project management, relevant project experience, their design approach for an urban site, schedule management, and experience with an approach to utilizing a construction manager at risk. And so, as you can go to the next slide. Excuse me. As you can see, Ewing Cole distinguished themselves amongst the group with the highest score of 86.2 out of possible 100. And I'll turn it over to Matt.
Good evening. I appreciate you guys having us here. So you can see the 5 items that we've actually presented and what we were looking at for criteria: responsibilities, communication plan, project experience, how they would approach construction in an urban location, and then their experience with the construction manager at-risk delivery method. Since this is the way that we're looking to go for the project delivery method, it's very important that the architect is working very closely with the construction manager at risk. So one of the things we looked at with Ewing Cole is geography. They are a local, regional, the group that they presented. We went back to the guiding principles. That's really how we pulled everything forward to see how they stacked up against what we were looking for. The first thing, we looked at how they were going to assess everything and what our needs were. We looked at the welcome area. This is an area in Philadelphia where they have the most Instagrammed spot in Philadelphia right now at one of their locations that they designed. The entrance, the grand entrance, being able to come in, have the experience. These are some of the things that really blew us away a little bit, how they brought the local area into the facility to showcase it. And they really brought that forward to show how they can. This is the first one was Philadelphia. This is Coney Island, where they took light fixtures from the area and brought them in and custom made them. So it's just different areas where they wanted to bring the community into the center. Everybody acknowledged, especially Ewing Cole, this is a new type of facility. It's going to be open, used for different events. It could be open for banquets. It could be for different more performing arts areas, concerts, comedy shows. So they showed us the Fillmore is one of their, it's basically a setup they have for Live Nation where they have the open-ended, they can change it into different directions, VIP boxes, different areas of seating that they can sell at luxury levels or the normal base level. So they really showed different areas for that. Pre-show, post-show, they spoke about how to make it a premier destination to come to, not just the show, but all the different things before and after. They spoke to accessibility, not just movement through the space, but to be able to have sight lines no matter where you are in the facility. And then looked at the VIP multi-use. You know, they kept speaking to, here are the different areas that as you're looking to make this self-sufficient, where you can bring in and have these options, have these items that you can upscale things and have these additional streams of revenue for the facility. Another one that really jumped out at us, they spoke to the back of house. The loading, unloading, how quick you have to make it, what's important to the performers coming in, so that the performers coming in see this as a high-end facility, want to come back and tell other performers about it so they want to come. You know, we spoke about in the guiding principles that this was supposed to be a great place, not just for the patrons, but for the people that are working there and the performers that are coming in. They also went through the look and feel and the different materials in some of those back-of-house locations to really show what people would be coming for. They spoke to the flexible use, live concerts, community arts. That was an important thing they put out there for us because it's important community. And then the weddings and banquets. They even showed us areas where they used it for fitness classes and spin cycles. And again, conventions, job fairs, they said there's limitless opportunities. They just wanted to talk through what we would be looking to use it for. They also spoke to scalability. So if you have a large event, you could have that feeling of a large event, but if you have a smaller event, they could lower the lights, they could bring a curtain in, and you can make it a little bit more where you have that same feeling, even though it's a smaller event, but keeping the VIP seating in there and the premium seating. They also spoke about no waits, no lines. You know, anybody comes to an event, they don't want to be waiting in lines for bathrooms, at the bar service, for concessions. So those were things that they brought that they said are important. You know, they spoke to the GMP, the guaranteed maximum price. You know, nobody wants to come in and have a job that all of a sudden there's changes and the price is going up. They really spoke to that guaranteed maximum price and the ability to fast-track projects. We know this is a tight timeline. They also spoke about the early scheduling that we would be looking for on the project and how to keep everything going forward, and opinions on materials selection throughout. So that's where we are presenting them for a vote to begin negotiations with the architect firm for the project. And that's where we're looking for a vote.
All right, thank you. And I want to thank Commissioner Council and Commissioner Keith for serving on that committee and doing such a wonderful job. Does anybody have any questions? If not, I will take a motion to accept the selection of Ewing Cole as the preferred choice to provide professional services in the form of design and construction oversight for the Crown Event Center project and grant permission to enter contract negotiation for refined scope and final price, at which time which will be presented to the board for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Booth, seconded by Commissioner Council. All those in favor? All right.
Unanimous.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for the work that you've done on that.
Mr. Chairman, may I? I'm sorry.
Madam Manager.
Remind the board that the goal is for MVP, our legal staff, to work with Ewing Cole this week and bring a contract back next Monday, the 28th,
Right.
at 1 o'clock for approval, because again, we're trying to stay with our timeline. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All right.
And just a quick overview, we had the success with the info session for designer previously. We're going to do that again for the construction and CM at risk, December 6th at 10 o'clock. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. That takes us to item B, which is a consideration of the ordinance to, Mr. Morefield.
Yes, sir.
You
Mr.
were
Chair.
bringing this forward.
Commissioners. Hold it, just touch something and lost.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem.
I'm getting it back. Slowly. Which part are you looking for? All right, excuse me. My memo is in the agenda package. It's accompanies it's actually an amendment to an existing ordinance we have that regulates parking on county property, and the other ordinance prohibiting camping on county property would be just a new ordinance. And neither of these are ordinances that require a public hearing, so that's why has been presented at this meeting without further notice. The issue has come to light at the downtown library with the city's adoption of the ordinance prohibiting camping on city-owned property. It's likely causing more pressure on the folks that have been staying on the city, homeless folks that are camping on the city property, moving more onto the county property. And I have described some of the issues that the library is already experiencing with the current conditions. And it's human waste is being dumped in the dumpsters, persons urinating and defecating in the storm drain, urinating on the public walkways and the property. The employees are having issues coming in the morning and concerning about having to ask people to remove themselves from front of the door to go in. So it's getting to be having a serious detrimental impact on the operation of the library and the employees. The ordinances that I am proposing are very short and very straightforward. They do not contain penalties and criminal offenses and stuff. It's simply a matter to try to address this issue as efficiently as possible. The unlawful parking ordinance is the first one that is in the package. And it simply says it shall be unlawful to willfully park any vehicle in any county-owned parking lot which does not display a current license plate. You have already delegated to the county manager in an existing ordinance, and this is an amendment to that ordinance, the authority to regulate county parking or parking in parking lots. This is just an amendment, an addition to that authority. And the reason for that is we have a vehicle that's been parked in one of the handicap spaces at the main library. I don't know if it's still today, but I know last week in checking, it was for several consecutive days around the clock, and the tag was expired in 2020. So that's not a valid handicap placard when the license is not valid, and it's just staying there. The other ordinance, and again, this is a separate ordinance. This is a new ordinance, the ordinance proposing prohibiting camping on county property. It's simply the authority for us to do this is referenced there. It's in 153A, chapter 153A, the county chapter of ordinances of statutes, in the statute 169, and it's applicable to any county-owned property within the geographical area of Cumberland County, including all county-owned property located in any municipality within Cumberland County. We don't have the authority for this type of ordinance in cities, but we do have the authority to regulate and govern the use of our county-owned property even in cities. So that's what the basis for this is. And the definition is used is pretty much the standard definition. This is the same definition that the city's ordinance has for camping. Camping is the use of county property for camping, and as it's defined there, it interferes with the rights of others to use the property for its intended use, and the accumulation of trash, garbage, or waste, and the lack of sanitary disposal facilities at camping sites create conditions upon county property which constitute a public nuisance. And that's consistent with the findings in terms of the waste and stuff that's being placed on the county the library property downtown. And this is careful to put in here that nothing in this article, and this is an entire article in the code, shall be deemed or interpreted to abrogate or limit the authority of the county public health director to abate public health nuisances. So that leaves that avenue open if it becomes practical or necessary. But right now, any person found to be camping on county property shall be deemed trespassing, and that's not a criminal offense until you're notified that you're trespassing. And I have not had conversations with the sheriff, but the county manager has, and we've talked about this at length. The sheriff his office has been very, stepped up, come forward and been very consistent with helping enforce and take care of the situation at the library, addressing that, and has indicated to be willing to continue to be willing to do so. So this is the enforcement mechanism is that the sheriff's office would give a notice of trespass to the persons or persons camping or establishing a camp, direct them to remove within a time appropriate to the circumstances all the personal property in the control of those persons or persons located at the campsite, and requesting the county manager to dispatch appropriate county staff to remove any personal property not removed from the site within the time directed. And that's something that I'm suggesting because I think in some of these instances it would be more appropriate that we had buildings maintenance folks other than the sheriff's deputies trying to do this. But it's also that the sheriff shall keep a sworn law enforcement officer on site while any county staff are present to remove personal property, just to avoid, to diminish the risks that are inherent with this sort of stuff. Any personal property from just removed from the site shall be disposed in accordance with county policy, and any person or persons who are noticed of trespass for camping or establishing camp on county property shall be subject to being charged with trespass if they come onto the same county property again. It doesn't mean that anyone would be charged with such offense, but it is just really a little bit of teeth to the as a remedy. So these are for ordinances very short and to the point, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions that any of you may have.
Commissioner Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Booker, camping. What's the definition of camping as far as that is concerned?
Let me go back up and get to it. As used in this article, it's the article of the code, camp or camping means sleeping, preparing to sleep, including lying down or the laying down of bedding for the purpose of sleeping, storing personal belongings, the placement of tents, huts, or tarps, or parking a motor vehicle, motor home, trailer, or any other type of structure for living accommodation purposes.
Okay, thank you. This is being directed, or this is being brought to us because of a certain segment of our community, correct?
It's being brought forward because the situation at the library has become a safety hazard to the employees, and it's affecting the use and operation of the library.
Okay, so it's happening at the library, but for real?
Yes, sir.
What group of people are we targeting with this? I know you read the definition and everything, but, okay, thank you. What we do know is that it's targeting the homeless individuals that are having a difficult place to find, to stay, and da-da-da and all that. We know that we have that problem here in Fayetteville. So, Madam Manager, where are we at now in the process of providing a shelter here in Cumberland County for those individuals that do not have any place to reside?
Yes, sir. So the board reviewed site selection, narrowed it down to 2 sites. The environmental work is supposed to be completed around December the 12th, and we should have the report by the end of the month. Once that information is back, then the board can make a decision on which site, and we can move forward. I've had recent conversations last week with Mike Nagowski with the hospital. They still are very interested in being a partner with us on building this shelter.
Okay, thank you. You know, and I know, and thank you, Mr. Warfield, Attorney Warfield, for what you brought to us. And I know it's difficult. I know it's difficult for individuals that are homeless. Trust me, I understand. But I think that a lot of the items that was mentioned that's occurring at the library or any other county building is also occurring in other areas, and some of those people aren't homeless. If that's making sense. It seems like we are really going out of our way, and the appearance to our community is that we're going out of our way to target homeless individuals. This item that we're talking about building, the homeless shelter, when is the anticipated time that this will be done?
I would think for the shelter to be complete, if we fast track it like we're fast tracking the Crown Event Center, it would probably be 24 months.
24 months.
But it would have to be fast tracked and the board move the project forward quickly.
So we're looking at 2024.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All
And,
right, thank you.
yeah, and Commissioner Evans, to your question, and I've always been a housing first kind of guy. The issue that I have is a shelter does it at night, but it doesn't get them any housing. And so we can do that because at least on a night like tonight, they have somewhere to go. But I think, and that's what Commissioner Keefe was pushing, is that we've just got to have more housing to be able to do it, whether it's transitional housing or whether it's housing in general. But if we're talking about dealing with this homeless issue, in my estimation, and this is not to say I'm against the shelter, 'cause I am for the shelter, but I do believe that you have to deal with the housing part and get them into some stable housing or some transitional housing, be able to get that, along with it's a multifaceted, I believe, issue dealing with mental health, dealing with substance abuse. It is truly, and Commissioner Booth and I will put on our attorney hats, for those individuals that are sex offender, they have a much greater issue because it's very limited where they can go when you're talking about schools, children, all of that. You know, it's almost impossible for them to be at the library, the health department almost, DSS, because you got children in and out of there. It is a major issue. I'll go to Commissioner Stewart. She has a button. Your button don't work.
We obviously have a homeless problem. We obviously have a affordable homes problem. The city did what they did. The county is now doing what the county feels is necessary. But I have to be a voice for the people who are being penalized, and that is those who are homeless. Yes, there are some people who choose it, but there is a whole lot more people who don't choose it. I understand there's an issue at the library, and I love Faith, I love everybody over there. But it's, as Commissioner Evans said, it's not just happening there. What options are we providing? What options for today? I know that we are working really hard in getting the shelter built. I'm the chairwoman for the Homeless Advisory Committee, and I can't even get a quorum there
With the city.
with the city.
Yeah, so that we understand that that's the city-county one that we put together.
Yes,
and you-
and I can't even get a quorum there. The people who are being affected the most are those who are homeless, and they have no options. I'm not saying to just go to the library. I'm not saying that at all. Not saying that at all. But I'm saying what options? We don't have any options. They don't have any options. We keep hearing that we have plenty of sheltering here, and then they go to the shelter and they're told they're full. And then the next day you turn around and, oh no, we weren't full. I know of 2 shelters here. We don't have what they need. They say Fayetteville takes care of their homeless people, so a lot of them come here. I know people who move here because they say that Fayetteville takes care of their homeless people. I beg to differ. I beg to differ. We have to, and I know that we are, God knows that I know that we are doing the best that we can, but the people that are being affected are the people that are also being penalized, and they have no option. Thank you, Chairman Adams.
Commissioner Evans, then I'll go to Commissioner Booth, and then Commissioner Keefe.
Yes.
In that
Commi-
order, in reasonable time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'll be brief as I possibly can. But, we were talking, and I understand what you're saying about the housing situation. And affordable housing here in Fayetteville, Fayetteville and Cumberland County don't exist. It doesn't exist. And talking about housing for individuals that are homeless, and if they're homeless, 9 times out of 10, they're jobless. And I know that we're at a catch-22, but we call ourselves, when I was on city council, we called ourselves rectifying the problem as far as affordable housing is concerned with Hope 6, the Hope 6 project. And you got people that's over there at Hope 6 project that are having a hard time staying there, trying to maintain housing there because the cost is so high. And we did that years ago. So whenever we talk about affordable housing, we need to talk about affordable housing. Housing that individuals that can maintain and live there without any difficulty. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Booth.
I'm not in favor of this, but from somewhat the same reasons, but different. I don't like just generating paper for the sake and words of doing it. If there is no sanctions, and there is not gonna be any arrests, I mean, I have not been, maybe I should do this, I've not been and spoken to the folks that hang out at the library. I have been a dozen times down, because my office is right down Gillespie Street from the folks that have been living regularly for a year now underneath the Gillespie MLK overpass. I've been there going there for the last year. There's not anyone there that is looking to go anywhere other than there. They're completely happy. They're content to be there. When I go up there and I introduce myself and tell them, do you need to get in with your wife and baby tonight somewhere? And they go, no, we're good. I got this little kerosene heater. I mean, so there's not anyone
They're
down
gonna be
there.
moved.
Huh?
They're gonna be moved.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And so
Not by us, but by the city.
right, that was working at least in some sort of rudimentary way, because the city had a wash station up there. They had a source of clean drinking water. Organizations were going up there because I helped them unload. It looked like they were a Chemours plant place for a while. They was getting tubs and tubs, walls of water, dry goods. The city or the county or both were cutting the grass back to keep it kind of manageable. I didn't ever hear any gunshots. I never felt unsafe there. The people were very affable. I'd say just in my talking for the last year, and I haven't spoken to the 1,400 that was cited earlier, but the ones that are there have been there very regularly and are content to be there. So I don't know if we do some sort of container city that you and I have talked about, and we've looked at in other states even doing this or something. But if you just take the number 1,400, and I don't know who came up with that one, and then you cut back on Jimmy's price to just 200,000. If people hear about we're taking care of folks, the 1,400 I think is an undershot. So you take 1,400 homes at 200,000 a pop. We don't have $280 million to put them in, and that doesn't count feeding them, broadband, electricity, furniture. That's just the $200,000 home. So the money is not a solution. We have to have the money to do it, but it has to be well spent. If you go up to one of the people at the library, I haven't met him or her yet, but if you go up to them and tell them they've got to leave and you're standing there with a sheriff, are they physically going to grab these folks and start moving them around? Because it says it's not a criminal thing, it's not a violation of anything. They're just going to help enforce it. I just sit down and I go, I'm not moving. I mean, I don't know. Hell no, I won't go. Isn't that still the 60s? They used to say that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm a little worried that we put something in place that there really is no enforcement other than you got to go.
Well, actually, there was enforcement in that.
You got to go.
There was enforcement in that thing because he did say cited for trespassing. That is a criminal thing. Commissioner Keith.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to make this as precise as I can. In 2003, I sat on the city council and listened to their 10-year program for homelessness. And 2003 came, and 2013 came, and we still have a homeless problem. We're coming up on 2023, and we still have a homeless problem. The mirror sometimes is a very hard place to look. But every one of us sitting at this dais has a responsibility. If they really, really want to do something with the homeless problem, then they should get together. I think most of you know on this board that I have put together some plans. I have worked with the county manager on finding locations. I have done these. But let's look at this from a different perspective. We talk about how it's affecting the homeless. I want to tell you how it's affecting my kids. My kids don't go to the library anymore because they're fearful. And there's a lot of kids that don't go to the library anymore because they had an incident at that library. And I have to feel for the employees who have to go there and ask someone to get out of the front stoop so they can go to work, have to shovel off defecation and do that. Is that really what we're having? What we are asking to do is talk about our community, our kids who are infected by doing this. Let's call it what it is. Close the library and turn that into a homeless shelter if that's what we're going to do. Because that's what we've been doing. I empathize with it. Commissioner Evans, I am sorry that your time on here, we haven't done better with homelessness. Because I know that is a priority of yours, and we talked about it when we were on the city council. You're going to leave here, and I'm afraid that we're not any better today. We've got a plan, but we're not better. Okay? I'm going to support this. And I probably will lose. But think about our children. Think about the purpose of a library. Think about all of those things that make our community better. So again, I empathize, I'm trying, but we only have to blame ourselves. Thank you.
Commissioner Stewart.
I sympathize with the children who are not able to go to the library. I also sympathize with the children who are sleeping in a car or on the ground at night. We have an obligation to all children. And again, this is just not happening at the library. It's just not happening downtown. We got to consider those children and those families who are in the woods, because that's where they feel safe at. We got to consider those children. We do have to do better. We do have to do better. We do need to do better, and I won't support this.
And just, what I hear, and I hear it coming from all sides, is this, I guess, is everybody's in agreement that there has to be something done along the affordable housing area to be able to deal with the issue. I don't know that this ordinance, either way, whether you take it or don't take it, solves the issue that you and all of us have, which is dealing with the homeless issue.
It does not.
But this ordinance does do, I think, though, is it does, and I'll be along with Commissioner Keefe, it does, in terms of going to work, to where you work, where you have to be, the sanitary, you know, some of the issue that we're having with the defecation and everything at the library and some of the other places is not even healthy for the homeless people. I mean, sometimes you have to do some things that at the beginning don't look right. So, as I said from the beginning, this is, I ain't calling you no more. Y'all had y'all turn. This is a multifaceted issue. I do believe that the board has to decide, again, I told you, the shelter's already online to be done. This board has moved forward on that in terms of the money. But that's only one step in terms of dealing with the homelessness issue. Because again, A shelter's where you go at night. You don't stay there all day long. So where do these people go during the day, and where do they end up being? And the only way you do that is with housing. And so as we do the shelter, we have to make a commitment that we're going to look at some kind of housing program. I will tell you, I was at the state last, the state association. This is a statewide issue with counties. It was interesting that on their legislative goals that came out of the state association, affordable housing didn't come out of that. It's interesting that county commissioners throughout this state believe affordable housing is a city issue. So you didn't see it when you went up there on as one of the legislative goals, because I got killed on that when I was pushing that. So there is no perfect solution tonight to be able to do this. I do think that at some point there has to be, and again, if you can't get a Commissioner Stewart, we created this city-county liaison to be able to deal with housing for the last couple of months. Let's just put it on the table. You've had a couple of meetings. City didn't show up. Some of the other people didn't show up. You couldn't get a quorum. So sometimes, just like we did on the shelter, you have to go it alone and just kind of deal with it. And so we just have to make a commitment to be able to do that. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you, I promise. You know what, I was thinking, and Commissioner Booth said it just right. He was saying, and I'm trying to paraphrase what he was saying, about it just doesn't make any sense using the sheriff's deputy's time to go and just tell somebody to move without any repercussions, to the individuals that are doing these things. When we have about 10, 12 individuals sitting right here that looking for the sheriff's deputies to come out and help them with those motels that we have out there on Eastern Boulevard. And to take away that workforce, that security force from the sheriff's department, just to go and slap somebody on the wrist and say, wake up, you gotta move. It just doesn't make sense. Now, when you're talking about wasting tax dollars, that's a waste. That's a waste. And if you don't agree with me, I am sorry. But to have a sheriff's deputy to go and ask somebody to move, and then somebody said something about a citation.
That's the city.
That's the city.
That's
okay.
the city. Don't be.
I'm going to the city. But seriously.
Yeah. But I think that I do agree, and I think the manager and I had this conversation. Again, even with this ordinance, is whether at least on some of these pages, I got my librarian here, but I'm not going to call her up. She's over there. You can always do on the short side. You do always a cost analysis. And the cost analysis is, do you hire some more security at there, or you use the sheriff deputy? That is a cost analysis, and you can do that patrols that during that period of time, so that the public does feel with that. So I'm open to this, whether there's a motion as to this ordinance. Commissioner Keefe.
Sure.
Oh, I didn't know if you said you were supporting that. I didn't know if you were making a motion or whatever.
And remember, these are two separate ordinances. One is an amendment to the existing parking regulation, and the other is a new ordinance in the code prohibiting camping on county property.
I mean, first thing we need to do is get better Wi-Fi.
Stronger. It'll cut off on you now.
Yeah. I make a motion that we, the amendment to the ordinance regulating parking on county property and the ordinance prohibiting camping on county property to be adopted.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Lancaster, Commissioner Council, Chairman Adams, Commissioner Booth, and Commissioner Keefe.
Those opposed?
Vice Chairwoman Stewart and Commissioner Evans.
And as we do this, I guess I would go to this standpoint is because, and I guess we don't have a vote, but I have to take a vote tonight. But this Board of Commissioners is committed to moving forward on trying to solve the issue. We've already got the shelter. I mean, hopefully with the shortage of labor and all of that, we can get that done. But that we're committed to moving forth on some affordable housing on that, whether, I know Commissioner Keith always tells us sometimes you might have to take out a bond issue or something and put it to the people and see, to be able to do that. I mean, it's the people's money. Sure. So sometimes we can put it to a bond referendum to be able to get those monies to be able to do that, but a commitment from this board to move forward on that. Thank you, everyone, for your input on that.
Mr. Chairman?
I thought he did both of them. You didn't do both of them?
He did do both of them.
Yeah, he already did both of them.
Yeah. And for the record, so there's clarification on this, the ordinance did not pass tonight. It has to be voted affirmatively by all the commissioners to pass at the first reading, so it will be brought back at the board's preference, either the first or the second meeting in December. And then a majority would pass it.
And when is that meeting again?
Well, the next one will be December the 5th, and then the one after that will be,
Not much going on at that meeting.
All right.
I think we'll shoot for the second meeting in December then.
Well, no, let's make sure it's on the December 5th meeting.
We don't do a whole lot on the 5th.
I know, but we can do that. We still can handle that business, can't we?
That's at first. Charles, you be at
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Mr. Evans, Mr. Evans, you won't be able to vote, sir.
You'll be there, but you won't be able to vote on it. All right, so,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
If it passes unanimously,
Yes,
it
it has to come back for a second reading.
has to and it has to pass unanimously.
No,
That on the second
The
reading?
next time, the second reading, it just has to be a majority vote.
right. Has to be unanimous, we wouldn't have to come
All
back
right.
to the second vote, but we had to do this.
We
one.
have talked about this for years.
Yes.
And I can remember having a meeting at the Social Services Building with all of the people there. The people who were in the business of providing shelter sometimes didn't even agree. But we have to make a commitment that we are going to revisit this, and we are going to get the tell them what to do.
The homeless shelter,
Pardon me?
And,
affordable housing.
yes.
Yes, affordable housing.
Yeah.
At every meeting, okay?
So that will take us to the,
Oh, wait a minute, one second,
Can we?
Mr. Chairman, please. But don't we already have $1 million that's sitting in the Turkey Beer?
that's
and-
for the shelter.
That's for the shelter,
That's for
right?
the shelter,
So-
and that's
okay.
already being used. Yes, sir, to get that shelter.
Okay.
It hadn't been
It's
used,
being-
but it's
but
been
gonna
used
be
for the
used.
shelter.
Okay, okay.
Yes, yes. All right, thank you. Thank you all for that, all of that information. That takes us to our second item of business, our third item of business, I guess, which is an update on the expiration of the sales tax distribution interlocal agreement. As the board knows, I've asked the manager to kind of update us on this. We have, in the past, had an agreement with all the municipalities and the school system as to sales tax. As the board is aware, I sent a letter to the city, and this was one of the things that came back from the mayor. I thought it was apropos to deal with this today. And I think when you see, and you'll see in your packet and everything, I think that this board, even which predates me, but I think since I've been here, we've talked about this, is that there are only 3 counties in the entire state, large-sized counties. Thank you. Large-sized county that still do per cap, do per capita or some kind of agreement. I think the manager will do that. So at some point, the issue comes before us as to whether it is in the county's best interest to go ad valorem as to per capita. We have had this conversation, these conversations have been going on since I was chair before that. But that we had this before the city-county the mayor's coalition, and the mayor's coalition was, led to know that this day may come, that the county may have to go ad valorem. That decision has not been made. But I think that in order for us to be able to deal with it and for the interim county manager to be able to prepare a budget as it goes forward, is we've got to start some kind of conversation early on as to where we are. And the only way we can do that is to have up-to-date information, as up-to-date as we can get in this instance. So, Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may recall, the Audit and Finance Committee met during the month of August to begin discussing the agreement. However, at that time, we did not present any numbers or any current numbers because our last sales tax payment for the month of June sales was actually received by the county at the end of October. So the numbers that we're presenting tonight are for the fiscal year ended June 30th. So just as a reminder, we have 4 local sales tax articles. 2 of those articles are shared with the school system. The half-cent Article 40, the school receives 30% of those funds for capital outlay, and Article 42, 60% of that article is shared with the school system. There are 2 distribution methods that the counties are choose from, the per capita and ad valorem. Per capita is based on the relative population between the county and all towns and municipalities. Ad valorem is based on the tax values within the districts. And so there has been a change in the legislation. Previously, if you made a declaration in the month of April, commissioners have to make a declaration if they're changing the method in the month of April. It would have previously been effective that July 1. Now there is a 14-month delay from that April decision. Historically, sales taxes have been distributed using the per capita method. Many of you may remember that the city of Fayetteville had an aggressive annexation program in the mid-90s to early 2000. That had a significant financial impact on the county. As the cities annexed additional population, the county's relative share of the sales tax distribution declined, and it declined significantly. The original sales tax agreement was signed in 2003. It had a 10-year window. It expired finally in 2013, and since that period of time, additional extensions and amendments have been adopted in 2006, 2009, 2013, 2016, and finally 18. And those agreements basically allowed the city to keep a portion of their sales tax gain, but they also shared a portion of their gain to mitigate the county's losses.
Madam Manager, and in the 2018 sales tax, there was an increase into the percentages.
Yes, sir.
So the county got even less money, if you can.
Yes, sir.
So we know that that 2018 sales tax distribution agreement was not like those prior ones.
Yes, sir. You're correct. The original agreement and the agreements through 2016 was basically a 50-50 sharing. The city received 50% of what they would have gained, and the counties only had a 50% loss. In 2018, it was a real struggle to get an agreement moved forward. In fact, we had set a goal of November, and it was January before the agreement was finally signed. And the only way we could get an agreement that the municipalities and the city of Fayetteville would agree to was to reduce our portion of the reimbursement. So we now receive 40% of our loss, and the cities gained 60%. The current agreement expires June 30th, 2023. So with the new numbers for the fiscal year 2022, I wanted to share what it would look like if the board chose to go to ad valorem. Under the ad valorem method, the county would receive $78.2 million in sales tax. Currently, for fiscal year 22, under the per capita method and under the agreement, the county receives $61 million of sales tax. If we change to ad valorem, the county would have an approximate $9 million gain in sales tax. The school system would lose about $528,000, and I'll explain why on the next slide. The city of Fayetteville would lose about $9.4 million. So this is a detailed slide, and it may be a little bit difficult to read, but this is the total picture. Under per capita, the fire districts and recreation are not districts. They are taxing districts, and so they do not receive sales tax under the population method. If you move to ad valorem, the fire districts then would receive sales tax as well as a recreation district. The total tax between those two districts is 20 cents. That dilutes the amount of revenue for the school system. And so you can see that the fire districts would gain $3.4 million, recreation 1.3, and then you can see the losses for the small towns as a result of not having an agreement and going to ad valorem. Chairman Adams has said of the largest counties, there are only 3 that are still on the per capita method. Wake, Cumberland has an agreement currently, and Durham only has 1 municipality, that's a city. That situation is a little bit different, but they do share sales tax under some type of an agreement. But you can see these other large counties are on the ad valorem method. And so I do want to make sure that everybody understands that county services are provided to all citizens regardless of where you live. In addition, as a city annexed in the past, the county did not lose any service responsibility. It was minimal. We lost a tremendous amount of recurring tax dollars, but we still had the same mandated services to provide. As far as mandated services, you can see the long list of services by North Carolina general statute that counties are required to provide. Cities, however, have only one required and mandated service, and that's building code enforcement. So time is of the essence. The board...
That should be 2023?
Yes, that is a, yes, sir. Thank you for clarifying that. I apologize.
That's okay.
So the deadline to...
Well, if we do it by then the same kick-in period, when does the other one kick out? Our latest?
June.
June of?
23.
Okay. So that would actually give them an extension to June of 24, wouldn't it? With
An
the 14
extension?
No.
Well, with the 14 months.
Yes, with the
fade
time that
period
we
to
have
fade
to
out.
give them that yes.
Yes,
The city
so there
will.
would be 14 months to prepare for the change
Okay.
for all parties. And although by statute, the board has to take an action during the month of April, we really need to consider this and have a decision made or direction by it in the next 60 days. Because if there is a change or there's a different agreement than what we have today, that's going to impact our budget and every other local government entity in the county. And so my recommendation is that the board continue this discussion so that there's some certainty as local governments begin to prepare their budget.
And Madam Manager, so we can have some clarity, because it's always, even when we had the discussion with the municipalities, and I think the county attorney is outside, but is that we can't give money to the municipalities to make them whole. We can't do that because that was one of the issues that we tried to do, so we can't do that. However, for the school system, we budget the school system, so that 528, if I get 9 million, we could possibly cover that 528 with our eyes closed. But there is and I think that it's been discussion that sales tax has been high this last, where's Vicky? Vicky told me this, but we have to take into account that some of this was that pandemic money that was given to people that did a lot of purchasing that may not be available in the coming years.
So that's correct. Sales tax over the last 3 to 4 year period has increased 37%. And so our budget division, Ms. Shaw, has been on statewide calls about projecting sales tax. And the feeling is that we need to go back to those pre-pandemic levels of about 2 to 3%, and that we may even see a drop. We don't know, but holiday sales may be a good indicator of future sales tax. I do want to make one clarification. And so there's a lot of nuances under the ad valorem method. And so the numbers shown today are based upon the current tax rate, the tax value, and the tax rate. If an entity increases their tax rate, that'll reduce our portion but increase their sales tax portion. So there are a lot of moving parts, and I just want to make you aware of that.
Based upon that presentation, does anybody have any questions or comments? No, I'm not going to do that tonight, but
Yes,
Commissioner Council.
it's a sticky subject anytime you bring it up. But if we go back to this list of, I don't know what I did with the list, of county services where the general statute mandates things for us to do, and we've got to do it for everybody. How early can we take a straw vote?
Well, I put it on tonight to at least start the discussion. And I think in terms of the manager and the interim manager is, and with Ms. Evans is, we're trying to wait for the holidays to see kind of what this sales tax was going to look like, a little bit more information from the state to be able to do that. And so today was just to get the conversation started. And we will keep it in the forefront as we move forward. The interim manager knows that. I wanted Ms. Cannon to do it because she's been a part of just about, I guess, all of these.
I was a part of the original sales tax
sales
working
tax.
group in 2002.
Right. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. So that will take us to the consideration of the franchise for the operation of the courthouse.
Yes, sir. Assistant Manager Jackson will present this item.
We need to go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Straw vote.
Staff recommended award of a deli franchise to the board at its November 10th, 2022 agenda session, with the award to go to Go Enjoy Restaurant, which is Happy Deli, doing business as Happy Deli, which is owned by Shanna and Che Yi for a term of 3 years. The bid tab was presented to the board and was approved to move forward to tonight's meeting. for the grant of a franchise, which will require 2 readings. The current franchise expires on December 31st, 2022. Staff advertised for proposals to operate and provide deli snack bar services on September 16th, 2022, and the Yees were the only respondent. Staff is requesting that this be the first of 2 required readings approving a grant of franchise to the Yees doing business as Go Enjoy Restaurant for a term of 3 years.
Commissioner Booth.
Thank you, sir. What has the rent been up to this point? That same place has been, this isn't a new vendor, this is the one that's there now, right?
So they pay a certain amount back to the county, and it has to do with their net proceeds. All that is spelled out in the proposed agreement.
Right, well, how much have we been receiving? It's just my understanding through the rumor mill that it's either a flat, like, something like 500 or a percentage of sales, and we've always gotten just the 500.
Right.
We've never really seen their books or seen what the sales were.
So as part of the RFP process, we required they submit certain qualifications, their financial records, and we had 3 years of those records. I can try to dig back through. Again, this was previously available and detailed.
Does Vicky get the check? What have they been giving us? They've been there a couple of years.
And my computer died, so I can't check it, but it's greater than $500 a month.
Okay.
So the contract says the franchisee shall pay to the county 6% of the net sales generated by each of the snack bars with a minimum commission of $500 per month for each entity, the one at the social services and one here.
Okay.
Commissioner Keith.
And, wait, just a
I'm
minute,
sorry.
yeah, just,
I'm sorry.
and they don't pay their ice, electricity, we cover the we cover electricity and, and except for their behind the scene cleanup, they're part of the rest of the courthouse cleanup, right?
They do their own cleaning. They do their own cleaning.
Right, they do their own cleaning.
Commissioner Keith.
I'm trying to do some math in my head real quick, but I got another question. We've got more restaurants in our community than, and I just can't believe that someone else isn't interested in this with all the coffee shops and everything else that we have here. Is the RFP, first of all, where was it shown? I mean, where did it go? Because so many times we say we put it out, but it's like in this vacuum that nobody knows about. But there's a lot of coffee shops I think would be perfect for this kind of thing. And it's a big spot. It's a big spot. And I don't know what $500 on 6%. We got any math wizards in here? How much does that mean per month that you're probably bringing in?
10% is 50.
Huh?
10% is 50, right?
Yeah. 10% is 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000.
Yeah, that ain't a whole lot of money coming in. So, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Tracy. I started my own sidebar conversation when you were answering. Where is it advertised?
Oh, so we submit the bid to the state website, the Fayetteville Observer, on Cumberland County's website, and through our vendor self-service. And so it goes through the state website, it goes out.
Yeah, I mean, we collect food and beverage from everybody. Should we send something out with them?
Yeah, with their bill. With their bill.
Commissioner Evans.
Sometimes money is a lot. Money is everything it seems like, but it really isn't. And I'm saying this. I'm saying this because having spoken and having dealt with the number of our employees, the staff that work here, individuals that visit the courthouse here as well as DSS, they are so satisfied with these businesses that we're the service that they're offering at Happy Deli and also the deli over at DSS. And what I guess sometimes You just let things go on. I mean, if it's working. No, please hear me out. Hear me out. If it's working, then why try to bother?
Don't shoot the horse.
Exactly. And they're providing excellent service to our community through the service that they render here at DSS and at the courthouse. And so we didn't have this discussion when we talked at the agenda session. We didn't go through all this. Everybody was happy then. Everybody was happy, feeling good. We were happy just like Happy Daily.
Well, I agree. And they rescued us. They rescued us at that meeting. One of the vendors didn't show up to give us
That's right.
food for one of our evening meetings, and somebody ran down and got everything on short notice downstairs, and I think you did. Very good.
If I can get a motion.
So I would like to make a motion.
I have no problem with it. It's just that, you know.
Or would that be Commissioner Council?
Opportunities to do business with the county.
Make the motion.
I would like to make the motion that, how would I phrase that?
Well, it's second read, it's
It's
only
got to do
first.
some reading.
Yeah, it's
Don't
got
have the
another
first
reading.
grant, then do another vote.
It's the second reading of another date.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's no motion.
So there's no
There's no
motion?
motion?
You do the motion to grant this, and you have to have another one.
Okay.
Grant,
This
approving
is-
the grant of the.
Okay, this is the first of two required readings, approving grant of a franchise to the, to Yee's Lee, Lee's,
Doing business at.
and Go Enjoy Restaurant for a term of 3 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Lancaster, Commissioner Council, Vice Chairwoman Stewart, Chairman Adams, and Commissioner Evans.
All those opposed?
If it's opposed, we have to do a second reading, right?
You got to do a
Oh,
second
yeah,
reading
second
anyway.
Anyway?
Opposed, Commissioner Booth and Commissioner Keefe.
All right.
No, and I eat down there on a regular basis. I got no problem with it. I was just as curious
I
as.
saw you down there eating breakfast the other day.
I know.
He eat
When
that
you-
sandwich, he eat that sandwich they can't, no, he won't here.
And their son is a soccer star. He was on my kids'
I know,
team.
we all gonna be eating breakfast here. This takes us to, again, and not that I put a whole lot, I guess I put a whole lot on these things too. But I have asked for an update on the Ann Street landfill capacity and disposal options, and I will tell you that we, as a board, knows that the life of the landfill is on its last legs. And so I did ask the manager, we had a couple of options that I didn't necessarily live here to but one of the other questions I had was, what could we do in the short term, as she does this presentation, to extend possibly the life of the landfill, which then may be able to help with costs. So, but if you go ahead and start with the whole thing, and
I have our
Yep,
expert with us.
we got our expert here, and they do an excellent job. I would tell you, I want to thank you and your team and Jermaine and all of you all for what y'all have done for keeping us abreast of this landfill and the issues, and not waiting, well, we getting close to the end, but not waiting till it's done to be able to do that, so we can have this planning and be able to do this planning. So thank you for being proactive, and your staff for being proactive. That's what has gotten us where we are. Thank you, Madam Manager. Thank you, staff. Madam Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so I want to give a little bit of background information. As we've reported, we have less than 8 years of capacity in our Ann Street landfill. And we've, for probably the last 12 to 18 months, we've been pursuing options to extend the life of the landfill. And just to set some context, we came to the board with a plan to extend the landfill life by about 50 years. And it really had a couple of steps. The first step was to acquire some land adjacent to the Ann Street landfill and to immediately begin preparing that site to build a lined Subtitle D landfill. Then the second piece would have been to do some work in the bale field, the old bale field. It's not a lined landfill. What we take out of that bale field will have to be disposed. And so we needed that first new landfill to put the bale fill residue in there. So it was a two-part process. Unfortunately, we've not been able to acquire the adjacent land.
Which is owned by the city of Fayetteville.
Yes,
It's
sir.
Mylan Yards, which is owned by the city of Fayetteville, which is adjacent to this, which was an old landfill that was used years ago that would allow us to be able to do that to extend the life of this landfill.
So, yes,
Okay.
sir. And so that kind of sets the background. And with that missing piece, we've been tasked and we've been working with Amanda. She's come up with some interim solutions. Unfortunately, there's a cost to this, and we want to set that stage this evening. So the best interim option is to start constructing a transfer station and also do bale fill mining. So Amanda has already prepared the RFP to for a transfer station and then transport and dispose of our MSW for the interim and eventually long-term. Our goal is to begin diverting 50% of our municipal solid waste by January 1st, 2024. Now, this will increase our cost because we're really doing two different solid waste operations. We're continuing what we're doing at our current landfill facility, but we're embarking on another operation, and that is building a transfer station, transferring the materials to larger trucks to be able to take it to another county. And so we have to start planning for a fee increase in the fiscal 2024 budget.
Well, and I guess I need to ask this question, because we've had this issue, it comes up during budget season, that, again, just like the ad valorem tax and all of that, the county has kind of subsidized, I guess that might be my word, y'all might tell me it's different, in terms of solid waste in this community, because all of the counties around us charge a whole lot more than we do. Is
Yes.
that correct? Are we one of the lowest of any of the counties that are around us? If you can give me some kind of idea about that, because I mean, that's what it is. It's a subsidy that we've done to be able to keep the cost down for the citizens of this community. So when it's raised, I need to let them know.
So
We need to let them know.
our household fee is $56. Most of you have a feel for what the rate is. Some of them are close to $100.
I got a call from Madison County last week. Their rate is $180 per household. Now, they're a much smaller county, but that's a significant number.
And so disposal of MSW is a very expensive operation, and every piece of equipment we buy is millions of dollars building a transfer station. And I would say we've kept the fee very low to our detriment in being able to make these next steps. That's why we need to increase the fees. And so I wanted to talk a little bit. This purple area right here is the bale fill expansion. And so Amanda has come up with this wonderful idea about mining it out. First of all, her goal will be to recover soils and to stockpile that and use that for cover material, because finding cover material is difficult and it's very expensive. And then what they pull out of the bale fill will need to be placed in our current landfill that only has 8 years of life. That's why we have to start diverting our current waste stream, and we want to begin that fairly quickly and start diverting 50%. Building a transfer station and doing the bale fill may take 10 years. That's why we need to start diverting now. So we've already been approved. Amanda is a head of management. She's already gotten approval from DEQ to start a pilot project for bale fill mining. We'll be one of the first or the first in the state to do this type of project. She's already working on submitting the transfer station permit to DEQ, and she's also working on the environmental justice process for building the transfer station and doing the bale fill mining. The next steps are to send out the RFP. Our goal is to send that out the first week in December. Mr. Moorfield has been working with us. Once those responses come back, we'll evaluate those. That'll give us a better idea of about the fee increase that's needed this July 1. Next month, Amanda and management plan to bring back the environmental justice report for your review and approval. And again, we're working on determining what the fee increase needs to be. The bottom line is time is absolutely of the essence. Expansion in the bale field may take 10 years, and we need to take these steps since we weren't able to acquire any adjacent land. We're available for any questions that you have.
And I guess one of the questions that I have is, just like everything else, there's a cost to everything. So as we do this transfer station, and I'm not asking you for exact figures, either one of you, but can you give a possible cost to be able to build? And when we're talking about this transfer station, we're talking about being able to do this and then taking this to another landfill. Sampson County's not going to take ours because their landfill doesn't have much more life than ours. So we're looking at taking it, what, to the URE Forest or wherever?
Perhaps. That's the nature of the RFQ will give us several options. We're looking for different costs. One might be for a hauler to use one of their existing transfer stations. That's one option we're looking at. Another option would be potential construction, or we're looking to build a transfer station on Ann Street. And then another option would be we will look for costs even beyond the interim to see securing our long-term needs. And those regional facilities, you've hit, UWARI is one of them. The other one would be Great Oak.
And that's where?
That one's located in Randleman.
Okay.
And then it remains to be seen what happens with Sampson's facility and how they would respond to such a request for proposals.
So we're talking about adding a few $1 million to whatever.
Right, this is on top of our current operations, and that's what's so huge about this, is you're adding another operation.
Right, on top of what we.
To our current landfill operation.
And this is an enterprise fund, so it has to pay for itself. I mean, it's an enterprise fund which pays for itself, which means that whatever we invest in terms of those, and I looked at the numbers, $5 to $7 million probably, and that's probably a conservative estimate that we have to recoup to be able to do in this enterprise fund. And I'm not gonna hold you to those numbers, but they're somewhere in that neighborhood.
Because you're looking at the cost of the landfill,
Right.
of the transfer station construction, and then you're looking the operation of the transfer station, and then you're looking at hauling and disposal costs in another facility. And then you're also looking at the cost for the bale fill mining. That's another operation that we would need to look at the capital cost for that.
Commissioner Keefe. And then Commissioner.
I don't know where to start. I think citizens need to know what we're talking about here, because this is going to significantly impact not only their property taxes, but every time they want to build something, we have construction debris, because the costs are going to go up for all of those too, won't they, Amanda?
Correct.
Yes.
And Commissioner Keefe, remember we were in a hurricane where we had to dispose of all of that?
If we have another hurricane, we're going to have to contract with somebody out to take off. Now, I'm going to ask a very basic question. Do we have to go through all of this if we had access to that piece of property that was north of the landfill?
That option would not be as expensive because we would not have to build the transfer station at this time or go through and immediately start hauling, because Amanda could start developing that area first.
Okay. And so every resident that uses the landfill, city residents, county residents, everybody will be impacted by this if we have to go this way, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it'll be millions
It will
and
be
millions
and
of
millions,
dollars.
Commissioner Booth.
Okay, everyone's dancing around this, millions and millions of dollars.
Not dancing.
But we only have, what, a couple 100,000 people to split that among? And really, it's less than that because there's several people per household. So we're down to millions of dollars being paid by 100,000 households, tens
It's
of
I
thousands?
think it's approximately 106,000 households, so if you want to use 100,000 as a
Okay,
round
and
number.
so will that be millions to 100,000? What is the average household going to be looking at when they get their, instead of fussing about their blue cans a little tarnished, what are they gonna be fussing about when they get gold cans for the price of moving all that stuff to the dump? Is it gonna go up a nickel, a dime, $50 a month?
No, it's
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
an order of magnitude,
That's
is
what I mean.
what we're talking about.
I'm a Cumberland County Schools graduate, Pine Forest, proud of it, but millions of dollars each year, and it has to be divided by the same people that are putting the stuff in the dump. And that's only 100,000 households.
Commissioner Evans.
Nobody wants to say a figure.
Well, I don't think, I think that, yeah, you're probably right, Commissioner Booth. Nobody wants to say a figure, and also nobody wants to really dwell on how we got to this point. And whenever there's a need down the street from 433 Hay Street, and they want us to help them with problems such as with the what do we call those individuals? What did you name those individuals that were homeless? What did we call them?
Homeless?
No, we didn't say homeless. We called them another name tonight.
Trespassers?
It
No,
escapes me.
whatever you call them, staying at the library, but that's their stuff, and it's their stuff. But we're willing to make a resolution or do whatever we need to do to assist them out of the problem that they're having with the homeless issue there in the city of Fayetteville. And it just burns me up that it's always said that the city and county can't work together. We can work together. We can work together when we have a willing partner to work with us. This could be taken care of without having to raise taxes or raise.
You may have to raise fees a little bit, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Not as much.
Well, something's gonna be raised other than the dirt. So what I'm saying is that whenever our citizenry realize that there's going to be an increase with this project being undertaken by us, because we receive no help from down the street, they need to contact those individuals that's down the street. Because I get sick and tired of people saying that the city hate the county hate the city. That's not the case.
That's not true.
That's not the case. And it just doesn't make sense, and it's conveying the wrong message to our citizenry. And so miles and yards, is that?
Mile and yards.
Mile and yards. We need that. And they know we need it.
The citizens need it.
Thank you, Commissioner Keefe. It's not that we need it. Well, we do need it. We need it for the citizens to do what we need to do to make sure that our citizens are on point and are taken care of. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry because it takes all of us working together for the betterment of this community. And when we have the revenue or the assets to assist them, we do. And we expect the same for them. Thank you.
Commissioner Booth, for
Maybe I'm just being short-sighted and almost saying, way to go, Charles. But do we know what their planned use is that is so much more important than this with that property?
To my knowledge, they don't have any use in mind for that
Oh,
property.
well, okay, well, that makes it.
Well, where do they take their trash?
We do their trash.
Yeah, there are large.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
Stand in the front of
Thank you, Madam Manager. Thank you, Ms. Amanda. Continue to do that good job, staying on top of it, and we'll keep pushing this and keeping it in front of this board. That will take us to appointments. I'm gonna go to Madam Chairwoman Stewart, the Library Board of Trustees, 2 vacancies.
Thank you, Chairman Adams. I'm going to run through these. The Library Board of Trustees has 2 vacancies, so I make a motion to appoint Anna
No,
McRae.
we just nominating, not appointing today. are we?
Following, the motion to appoint the following nominees: Anna McRae and Gloria Nelson.
Oh, is this an appointment?
If I,
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
the Local Emergency Planning Committee has 3 vacancies. I would like to make a motion to appoint the following nominees: to Print and Media Broadcast Representative Lou Cherry.
And keep going.
Operations of Facilities Representative Donna Goodwin. Community Groups Representative Andrew McLean.
I can get a second.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
And that takes us to the Transportation Advisory Board.
There are 4 vacancies, and I would like to make a motion to appoint the following nominees: Workforce Development Director of or Designee Matthew Fowler, the Transit User Sheila O'Kelly, Dialysis Center Representative Antoinette Wiggins, and Emergency Medical Service Representative Alinda Bailey.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right. That will take us, Madam Manager, to closed session. If I can get a motion to go into closed session for attorney-client matter pursuant to NCGS 318-11A3 and for personnel matters pursuant to NCGS 143-318-11A6.
So, second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor? And I want
Unanimous.
y'all to be out here long in this. Can I get a, ready? All right, can I get a motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
So move,
It's, and second, it's been, all those in favor? And can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
so move.
We are adjourned. We are adjourned.
Well.